Chapter 423, Monster 3, 4. Double Chapter, Daily plus 5K votes extra. Part 1. There is what is possibly understandable and what is impossibly understandable. People perceive things based on their mental ability to imagine and understand. What they understand, they cope with and accept as possible, even if it is out of their own capabilities, but what they don't understand, they fear and discriminate against. In some periods of time, women with the knowledge of herbal medicine and some simple mechanical understanding were discriminated against as witches. They were gathered and put in cages, then got executed in public. The discrimination of the odd is a common occurrence and can be very contagious in a community. Racial discrimination or skin color discrimination, and the list goes on. This is mostly caused because of a lack of understanding. People hate the odd and what goes beyond their perception. The order and chaos theory becomes very obvious in this example. Chaos is the natural state of things as everything is simply made of it. The order is what our minds could comprehend from that chaos and that feeling of familiarity towards what we know and what we feel possible to understand. A good example will be like walking in a new country with a different set of customs and traditions. One may find a certain custom very incompatible with whatever he believes in, and from there one rejects the chaos, recognizing it as evil. Sometimes this chaos is too much to understand, no matter how open-minded one can be. People may shoot firebolts from their hands, shout words of power by their voices, rule with an iron fist. That is somewhat understandable to a certain degree and recognized by the magical theories. But when someone has the ability to bring down a fort's wall by pulling it with their sheer mere physical power, to defy the possibility of being shackled by high-end magic seals, to cover a whole city with one spell, to control thousands of lives by sheer charisma and mere words, to tell people what to do and what not to do and organize lives as they see fit, to have a superior will that breaks other wills, to dominate by presence and devastate by force. This is a little bit of a stretch from what is realistically possible even in a magical world. But it's possible to happen. And when it happens, it will lay waste and wreak havoc, being something unstoppable and dominant. People will kneel to whoever controls such a power. But some won't. Some will see the chaos no matter how dominating it becomes and discriminate against it no matter its intentions. They will rebel against the Titans and burn the world with them, if they could. They would revolt in the name of fighting against what shouldn't have been given to a mere mortal. To fight the monsters, to start the rebellion against what disturbs the order and the lives of the decent folk. To slay the monsters, free the souls, and break the shackles. Those rebels rise from being broken by the monsters on a young age and grow up to develop a sixth sense towards those who wield the power of the monsters. They call them by many names, starting from the beasts and monsters going on to the tyrants and titans. They feel the necessity to rid the world of the monsters and start a holy war against them, sacrificing everything precious and dear just to take down one mortal. Those rebels are merely victims to their own fears, antagonizing the mighty and putting on a bitter fight against the odds. A hero syndrome of a sort where the victims destroy themselves like eggs thrown at a wall. But even a wall couldn't withstand what they were going up against. It was pulled down by a single monster that was tied to it. The monster forcefully pulled the chains out of their mechanisms and smiled as he took them as his trophy. Nice gain. Maybe that will compensate for my wasted time, John said as he forcefully opened the shackles on his wrists and kept the chains in the cube. The scene in front of him was very much clouded by the rubble of the fallen wall. John kept a sharp gaze at the rubble until the dust cloud settled down and silhouettes started to walk out of the broken wall. The Thalmor mages, the orc shamans, the Argonians, and the Dunmare brigands, as well as the enemies John was waiting for, Gollum and the laborers of Malakath and Periite. The whole lot of them were spitting and coughing out dust. There were also many with broken limbs and some buried under the rubble. The one receiving them was John, who was a monster in their eyes, as soon as they realized how close they are to him, not that there isn't a wall. Someone with such an insane ability put a strong mental barrier between them and the ability to fight him. Some wills were stronger than others, and the ones who sucked up their fear were Gollum and his two orc friends. Gollum had Isha's weapon with him, the spear of bitter mercy that can pierce through anything and kill anyone. No matter how strong Krylin can get, no one survived the sting of bitter mercy, and no armor can protect against it. The laborer of Malakath had Volendrung, a great hammer that a whole nation was named after it, and the laborer of Periite had the unshakable shield that can absorb any kind damage, Spellbreaker. The three were ready to go against a monster and put on a fight against the odds. "You bastard! Your head is mine." From the sides, the high elf Thalmor, arch-wizard Fiander pushed away the rubble and walked to John with eyes reddened from anger. "All teams attack," the elf shouted. The area was surrounded by trees and swampy forests. Once the elf shouted, a number of presences showed themselves. High elven mages and with elven arcane archers aiming their spells and magic arrows at John. "Oh, hello." John leisurely smiled and waved at them. "Kill him." As the commander on the Thalmor force shouted, the weirdest of the weird happened. The whole force disappeared in a poof. John couldn't hold it back and laughed hard. "Sorry, I just ha-ha. I couldn't have imagined, ha-ha, they would disappear like that." As John was holding his sides from the laughter, Fiander the arch-wizard became baffled. Almost 100 elite wizards and arcane archers were here, and then they were not. This can't be covered if something serious happened to them. Unlike the battalion that was wiped out at Winterhold, which was made of foot soldiers, these hundreds were top elites and candidates for future commanders. He prepared them personally to face someone with John Dare's caliber. Fiander looked at the laughing John, and his eyes demanded an explanation. John cleared his throat and raised his hand. "A few seconds from now, your people will appear again. It is just a small trick, no more. Ha-ha! Goodness me, you'll love it." John counted with his fingers, then pointed all around him. At that second, the 100 or so Thalmor agent appeared once again, just as he said, but something was completely wrong. The way they appeared was something akin to a scene of a horror movie. They were there, but their bodies appeared through the trees, the ground, the stones, and some appeared on each other. The scene was akin to a very resentful Daedric prince holding some puny mortals together and stuffing them in things or in one another. How did this happen? Simple. John has sent Nefertiti to put down these traps. When he burned the Hiss tree and heard something from it, he got an insight that the chaos and the shadow are of the same nature. He can employ the shadow magic to create chaos attacks, and that were the scrolls he handed to Nefertiti. He asked her to go around and plant these spells he made in the shadows of the enemies who were trying to ambush him. Once that was done, whenever a mage casts a spell, that spell will be absorbed by the scroll, and he will be transferred momentarily to the chaos world. There, Nefertiti, the Fairy of Shadow, will be waiting for them in all her might. She can just do whatever she wants, and she chose to stuff them in objects. That was all there is to it. John trapped them in the chaos world by their own magic, and Nefertiti handled the rest. The one who sees this will surely look at John as someone out of the ordinary. A true monster, just as Gollum was saying. The high elf arch-wizard was terrified out of his wits. There was no knowledge of any magical archetype that can do such damage unless one was connected to a high Daedric lord. Knowing that Krylin is the laborer of Azura, this must have been it. Even an arch-wizard is not a match to a Daedra. His legs stiffened, but John took action. He used Electro Hand and grabbed the mage from his head, then pulled him closer with haste. Once the mage was in his grasp, John punched a thunder cookie at the mage's abdomen, sending him on the ground in agonizing pain. "Damn, not dead. You must be carrying some treasure on you, bastard. Very well, looks like some of my friends want to have a chat with you. I'll leave you for later," John said, and took one of the magic sealing chains and put the mage in it. "No, mercy, mercy." "Nope." John tossed the mage on the side after making him faint. He then looked at Gollum and the rest. "Sorry to make you wait, boys," he said, and called for Greed. Greed moved on its own, holding each piece of John's armor and weapons, then jumped on its owner. Just a couple of seconds went by, and John was in his full gear in such a bizarre and grotesque manner. Shall we begin? Part 2. Gollum kicked his fear aside and put his trust in the spear's power. It is a matter of do or die now. Krylin, you monster. No matter what you do, I'll kill you. Gollum steeled his will and charged at Jon with his flaming aura on. Haha, that's more like it. Jon was happy to finally get to face the champion of Bothia and let go of his tyrant aura. Its existence put a lot of pressure on Gollum, and he got to see firsthand how overbearing can Jon be in a serious fight. The ebony blade discarded all defense and was swung by Jon's full power, but the Spear of Bitter Mercy was used to reflect the attack at Jon with its enchantment. Troublesome, Jon smiled and swung his blade from all possible directions. Gollum seemed to have trained on the spear, and the enchantment itself boosted the wielder's ability to wield a spear. Jon seemed to be going to have to fight for some time before he could overpower Gollum. Still, from the side, the Laborer of Malakath attacked with Volendrung. Die human. Seriously, dude, do you hear your voice? Jon didn't want to make contact with him, so he just used a simple force spell to stagger the orc away. From the back, the Laborer of Periite closed on Jon with his shield, Spellbreaker. Jon wanted to push the bastard away, but Gollum attacked from the front. They tried to corner Jon. Nice! Jon directed the spear to the other side and kicked at the back, but Spellbreaker blocked his kick. The Laborer of Periite tried to spit a green substance at Jon, but Jon teleported behind him and waved the sword at his head. The Laborer of Periite managed to regain his defensive stance and barely stopped Jon's attack, but his right ear was chopped away on the account of his neck. I see. A perfect defense enchantment. It makes you the ultimate shield user the same way with the Spear of Bitter Mercy and the Ebony Blade, but when you try to attack, you will lose the advantage. Interesting. Jon now became hell-bent on breaking the perfect defense of Spellbreaker, but soon he was attacked by the Spear of Bitter Mercy and Volendrung at the same time. Good combination. Make me feel it. His thirst for a good fight made him try to extend the battle even longer. Volendrung was smiting every spot he stood on, filling the ground with pits and holes. Spellbreaker was blocking every attack, and the Spear of Bitter Mercy was a combination of offense and defense. Krylin, you monster! Die! Gollum was enraged by Jon's broken attitude and lost to his rage, performing a clumsy attack. Jon smiled as he found an opening to slap Gollum with all his palm, sending the elf away. So what if I'm Monsteer? Jon teleported to where Gollum will land and slapped once again. That's been here all along. The meme, guys. The meme. Gollum crashed to the other side, towards his orc's companions. He tried to stagger his way up. The orcs were attacked. Carly and Miranda showed up out of nowhere and circled around the Laborer of Malakath, then shot him with a quiver worth of arrows. The orc was not pierced in any vitals, so he was kept alive but crippled. Mirren appeared behind the Laborer of Periite and took him in rounds and rounds with an unimaginable speed, forcing the orc to spin around himself and then collapse like a fool. Mirren then kicked Spellbreaker away and forced the orc down. Jon noticed that both Mirren and Miranda were using a wind aura, which was clearly unusual in both aptitude and racial preference, but that wasn't a big deal anyway. That is one unusual way to take down someone. Jon spoke to Mirren. If he is the perfect defense, then the key is not to attack him. I met a lot of his kind, but that was one unusual way to take down a fort. Mirren replied, "Oh, that was just me showing off the gains." Jon wasn't humble about it. On the other hand, Gollum was already up and tried to attack Mirren from the back. "Not my honey boo, you bastard." Isha appeared out of nowhere and stuck the spear that Jon gave her to the back of Gollum's knee and pinned him down to the ground. She then came in front of him and gave him one angry punch that almost dented his ebony helm and sent him to dreamland. "Honeyboo?" Jon asked. "Stop it." Mirren wanted to hide his face. Isha recovered the Spear of Bitter Mercy at once and hugged it, as if she missed her ever dear. "Good job, my friends. Job well done indeed." The old woman seemed to have finally walked all the way here. Old cat, one bruised Gollum, and 2 orcs delivered as promised. Jon presented. "Indeed, thank you." You have my gratitude. Is he conscious? The old woman pointed at Gollum. Isha took his helm off to see his red eyes glaring daggers at John and the old woman. The old woman sighed, and approached Gollum was pulled up by Isha. Boy, you really shouldn't have done that. You should never have betrayed me. She said, Rot in oblivion, you monster freaks. Gollum shouted at her and John. What's with this guy? Did the Skumacat lick him? Mirren asked. Wait, Sheogorath licks people? John asked. It is a common saying in Elsewhere, but no, the Skumacat didn't lick him. The old woman replied to John and looked at Gollum with pity. Some people are just fated to not have an aptitude with one another. Gollum is a kind that doesn't go well with ours, my friend. Oh, I don't get it. John frowned. I'll tell you later, but you will meet more of his kind one day. Those who rebel at magnificence, as they don't believe that some were born gifted and walk paths other can't. She said, 'Cause you are freaks. Gollum struggled in Isha's hands. Hee hee, that's the whole thing? What a pity. John became turned down. So, boy, don't you have anything to say? The old woman asked Gollum. He refused to look at her. You were sheltered in my house, and you betrayed me. A common thing between the cultists of Bothia, but you know that the most thing I value, my gold and my silver, is loyalty, Gollum. You didn't just betray me. You betrayed Bothia when you put your hands with the laborer of Malakath. You know what that means in your cult to go in cahoots with the enemy of your prince. She said. Gollum preferred to keep silent. What do you see me as, boy? She asked. You want to hear once again? You are a monster. The gods doesn't judge you, so it is up to others, but others can't. So it had to be me. Gollum said with pain. Yes, you are right, but not all monsters are the same, and not every one of us is evil. She said. Huh, you think I will believe that? It makes me sick imagining myself to be like you, doing what you do. How do you live with yourself, monster? He asked in a frenzy. By saving lives and serving the greater good. I'm a sin-eater, boy. I absorb the misdeeds of others, darkening my soul to keep theirs pure. That's what I am capable of. That's why you see me as a monster. But as bad as you may think I am, or as far as you may think I am willing to go to protect what I hold dear, you can't possibly fathom how deep the will of mine truly goes. Yes, my boy, I am a monster. She said in an unshakable tone. God, I love you. John was so absorbed in her speech, which made her smile and shake her head. Would you please finish our orc friends here? Let's not make them suffer more. She suggested. Okay. Miranda and Mirren delivered the finishing blows to the two orcs and tried to salvage their Daedric artifact, but they disappeared into thin air. That's... Mirren asked. I don't think the Daedra who are not on our side would let us just take their things. John explained. The Altmare twins looked disheartened, but John pointed them at the Thalmor arch wizard he captured. The two seemed to have had an old payback with their kinsman, as he started screaming when he saw their faces before they gut him like a fish in a bloody execution. What should we do with him? Isha asked. The old woman closed her eyes, weighted by the thought of killing someone who was on her side. Once then she remembered what he had done to Narses, and remembered his past too. A boy comes home one day to find everything that gives meaning to his life gone. Core burned, animals slaughtered, bodies broken apart and shattered on the ground. Everyone he ever loved was taken from him, his parents, his sisters. One can only imagine the pit of despair and the hours of love and happiness stripped away from him, leaving him to the burden of his very existence. He makes a promise to himself in those dark hours to slay those monsters who play people to death, and a life of misery is fated on him. Years go by, and his suffering becomes complicated. One day he stops, that boy who is no longer a boy, and he sees the havoc he left in his wake. It is now he who burns, he who slaughters, and he knows in his heart he must pay. The old woman said, then gazed at the man in front of her. Doesn't he, Gollum? Silence overtook the mood. Knowing the man in front of them was something, but knowing the man to a deeper degree is another. He couldn't help it. John said. Maybe, the old woman said. Maybe he is not that broken yet. Maybe he can make amends to those he hurt. Or maybe not. The old woman waved her hand in a flash, slaying Gollum in a second. Isha let go of Gollum, who fell on the muddy ground, taking his last breath. The old woman took a deep breath and refreshed her mood. The title of the champion of Bothia goes to the man who bested him, John Dare. You may as well have the ebony armor. I received that word from the temple last night. She said, "Thank you," John replied. She turned around and walked a few steps, then stopped. "Your labor is over, my friends. Please be my guests until you receive a word from your prophets, and there is a small party and some gifts from me to you. Please, by all means." And by that, John's sixth labor is over. P4TRE0 in goal, +4 extra. Next, +5 extra. Pat Rayon, com/Eldokmeezy, remove. PayPal, +$10 equals extra. PayPal, me/Eldokmeezy. Vote extras, 5K, 8K. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7S. Twitter at Eldokmeezy22. Chapter 424, The Timely Lie. A 4K word chapter, which is a double chapter. Daily +8K votes extra. As the threats were over around Mournhold, the city could take a breather for the coming few months. The opposition between the government, the temple, and the people was turned down a tad by the uncovering of some plots regarding what House Drays tried to do in Narses, and how House Endoril was about to hinder the missions if the laborers of Azura, Bothia, and Mephala. Of course, the government and the temple could put merely some pressure on the great houses and let bygones be bygones after some donations and contributions. Politics was always like that at the end of the day. Religions create lines, coins solve problems, and politicians keep a wide smile and hide agendas within agendas. Regarding the laborers, Mirren and Miranda, as well as Isha, seem to have finished their 7 labors and paid the Deidre back. John, however, was sitting alone thinking while looking at Isha from afar. He just received his 7th labor from Arania. "Follow the spear maiden, and your labor will be revealed," she said. He could pretty much anticipate that. He was told once that Isha is a big player in his final labor, but, "You bastards, the girl has gone through oblivion to finish her labors and go home. What more do you want from her?" John roared at Arania back then. Not that he could expect an answer, but all he was told was that she will need him whether he liked it or not. Somehow, he had to figure out an excuse to say that he will stick around with her or anything. God damn it. John could only bury his face between his arms and hope this gets better somehow. So, the martial arts schools in Hammerfell should be more promising than Black March, right? We want to try the Dummery martial arts, but sadly they are declining. Mirren spoke to Lanmas as the two were having a conversation at the bar area. "I can help with that. I am from a renowned martial arts school myself, and I have friends in various schools. But do you think it is a good idea being an altmare and roaming around Hammerfell?" Isha joined the conversation. "As long as there is a mutual base understanding to martial arts between those schools and mine, I don't mind going to Oblivion if it takes that." Mirren replied. "Our master wanted us to compete with other martial artists if possible. Even the quiet Miranda decided to join." "What school are you from?" Isha, Desert Wind. Mirren, from elsewhere? That's famous. Isha, what about you? Miranda, Ebenarm's Citadel, the Western Mosque. Isha, the School of the Spear Battlelord? Miranda, that's a surprise. Mirren, I'm an instructor at my school. You can follow me back home if you wish. I'll show you around and introduce you to my brother. Isha, John's ear suddenly reacted like a cat's ear to that last thing. Can I tag along as well? He said right away. The rest looked at him with narrowed eyes. You are interested in martial arts? Mirren asked. Do Nords have any martial traditions other than training their battle spirits and swinging around their axes? Even Isha wondered. John felt a bit awkward. It was a common knowledge that Nords, Breton, and Altmare don't practice martial arts the same way the other races do. Redguard, Khajiit, Argonians, Dunmare, and sometimes Imperials are very enthusiastic about martial arts, but it is a common misconception that other races don't do as well. All races practiced martial arts some way or another, else there would be no people known as warriors. Traditional martial arts weren't necessarily what everyone needed, as common weapon technique and warfare teachings were already widespread. Most would associate the technique to the weapon rather than to a style school. Nords had axemen, berserkers who fight different than a Breton axe warband. Some styles are suitable for groups while others are suitable for individuals, but it was all about the weapon in the end. Still, it was awkward not to name a single martial art in front of them. We have Glyma. John said, Nordic folk wrestling. That's just wrestling. Everyone wrestle. Mirren retorted. Then I'll go with you. Maybe I'll gain some interest in something while I am at it. John slipped his agenda perfectly. Good. The more the merrier. Isha said, what about your last labor? Won't you go slay one of those dragons you don't shut up about? Mirren aimed where it hurts. Ah, well, Arania met me this morning and had something interesting about my labor. Oh, what is it? The three were interested right away. Well, it seems that I have to roam the world and find out. Ha 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 ha. Going with you is not that bad for a starter, isn't it? John laughed it off. Vague. Miranda narrowed her eyes and didn't say anything further. The talk about martial arts kept going on and on. As far as John is concerned, he knows a fairly good amount of sword techniques, and the basics were hammered into him by Hilda. If it is about unarmed fighting, then he knows boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, and some MMA he picked from his memories. Boarding his knowledge about martial arts, this became a good excuse to follow along indeed, but he has to participate in every conversation with these three martial arts fanatics from now on. What was making him busy right now was his book that got finished, but kept him busy copying it by magic. He was struggling a bit with some finishes, but it all came together at the end of the day. By the second morning, John was wearing his crimson college robe that had his badge as a teacher in Winterhold, and took a few of his books copies with him. I hope you're ready. The old woman waited for him in her carriage. John sighed and nodded. I hope my master could be here today, but I hope you help me send those copies back home to Winterhold. Without fail, my friend. I must say I have quite the number of questions, but I'll leave them to the debate. Off we go, driver. Shad Ashla Academy was right to the north of Mournhold, and the carriage ride took only a couple of hours to get there. Next thing John knew was being welcomed by the staff members of Shad Ashla. The old woman was a major donator to the academy, and she pulled a few strings for John to have a meeting in the main hall of the academy with the masters and the archmage. Sadly, because of him being a Nord, some had an indifferent atmosphere towards what a Nord mage would come up with in a book, so they just were here for the sake of formalities. Prior to this day, John had to deliver a copy of his book to the academy to at least have his examiners ready to roast him a little, but somehow his examiners didn't show up until he was in the hall. Defying his expectations, there was a number of students from various races in the hall, and the high member of the academy took the first seats. John stood on the stage behind a lectern, and three old mages showed up and stood in front of him. Examinee John Dare, expert mystic from our friend and rival the College of Winterhold. That was quite a book you wrote. One of the examiners said, Thanks, sir. Don't thank me just yet. We are obliged to examine you about what you wrote and ask some questions. Let's start from the beginning, the title. You called your book The Timely Lie. Indeed. Explain the title. The book contains some of my studies on the teachings of the prophet Velith, which caused the Chimer people to follow the Daedric princes Mephala and Bothia and denounce the faith of the Aldmer, as well as the relationship between those teachings and the God of Time. I also added some of my thoughts on the God of Time in all his forms, and finally how to employ the teachings of Prophet Velith, which are known as the Sigic Endeavor. John explained briefly. The whole hall tensed in one go. This subject is 100% Dark Elf related. The Chimer are the ancestors of the Dunmare, and this book goes around their very origin. For an outsider to come with such a book and demand it to be published in Morrowind, he is either a fool who wants to show off and embarrass himself, or someone with a big theory in mind that will go head-butting many ideas and researches. Truth be told, the book is quite a dangerous subject. John Dare, as a researcher you should know that, right? Absolutely. Then let's start. And the debate began. Three masters from Shad Ashla against John Dare, questioning every little detail in his book that includes the writing style and the language mistakes too. First off, I wrote an introduction about the Sijic endeavor as one of the known 6 walkways and a method of attaining divinity, achieving the tower, becoming a royalty, chim, and what to do after. It is known as a process of glorious apotheosis, where time itself is bent inward and outward into a shape that is always new. The shape that is always new is a metaphor for growth, in my personal opinion. The term Sijic itself comes from PSJJ, which is not a word to be read, but rather a sigil from the Elnefex, language of the fallen spirits, and it describes the chaotic motions of Sidhis, the very spirit of Padme, the one primal chaos. My research relies on the monomyth of creation regarding how by the presence of the god of time could the chaos be resolved into order and the spirits came to be. The Sijic endeavor, in my opinion, is the process where time is seen as a hindrance and the very reason behind mortality, unlike the common belief for it as the fault of Lorcan. What I'm trying to say is, why did the elven ancestor Trinimac try to stop Prophet Veleth from spreading his teachings among the Aldmer, and also trying to stop the Chimer migration to Morrowind, only to get himself devoured by Bothia, and later exerted as the Daedric Prince Malakath? Bothia claimed that many lies and rumors about Lorcan were the fabrications of Trinimac, as she spoke in his voice to reveal them. This accident happened in the Merethic era, when creations were still struggling with mortality. Due to the creation of the mortal world, many spirits lost their immortality and became our ancestors. They tried hard to go back to Aetherius again and attain immortality, especially the Aldmer, ancestors of all elves. But when Prophet Veleth came up with a method, he faced opposition. Wasn't regaining immortality the big deal at that time, and Trinimac actions are seriously unexplained regarding his unending animosity to Lorcan and the humans? I'm not sure about the schools of thoughts back then, but I assume that some considered getting aid from the forces of oblivion to be heresy. I took a few notes on that subject, but that is not what the research is about. The important thing comes when I mention the effects of the mind on reality. What we believe in becomes possible, and take Shiagarath, for example. In most parts of the world, he is the well-dressed gentleman with a cane who has an ever-so-changing mood with the homicidal tendencies of making juice out of babies and creating musical instruments out of old ladies. In Elsewhere, however, he is the Scumacat who appears as an Alphic with the tendency to lick people into madness and use them as playthings. At the end of the day, it is the same old Shiagarath either way, but what is different is the way people perceive in him. He won't appear to Dunmare as a cat, only to Acaciat and an Elsewhere. As I mentioned, belief is a big part of the answer, and that is not just limited to Shiagarath and the other Daedra bunch, but same goes for Edra. We have Lorcan who is Shazar, who is Sheer, who is Shor, who is Sep, who is the totem fox. Shor appeared to Iskermore as a fox back in the days of the ancient Nordic pantheon on Atmara, but his avatars came afterwards as men like Ismir Wolfhearth, for example. One of the interesting examples of change is with the god of time himself, as his aspects vary from one another as spirit entities altogether, and that's due to belief. It changed a whole lot about the god of time. At first, he was Oriel, the patron of Aldmer, Altmare, and Famar as far as we know. Then Saint Alessia came and established a covenant with a form of the god of time known as the dragon Akatosh. How did this Akatosh come to be? In the early days of the First Empire, the Alessian sect watered all the gods of elves and men into new versions that suit its purposes, and the most important mix was between Shazar, a version of Lorcan symbolized by the snake, and Oriel of the elves, symbolized by the eagle. The eagle and the snake gave us Akatosh, the dragon. Now, I know there are other researches to read about that point, but what I want to highlight is the ability to change in the nature of the original spirits. Shiagarath himself once said, "Everything changes, even Daedric princes, especially Daedric princes." This change is mostly based on belief, but how can almighty beings, as the Edra and the Daedra, be so easy to change? The answer is always beliefs and thoughts, but Is that it? No one is interested in changing the Daedra or the Edra. The orcs and the Dunmare should know very well how these things turn into disasters in the end. But what else is there that can change by belief, or rather mass belief? There's a term in psychology known as the placebo effect. You're having mild dizziness, then I give you a medicine which is not actually a medicine, then you somehow become better. Its opposite is the nocebo effect, where I give you a drug and say this will make you vomit while it actually doesn't, but you vomit anyway. Now keep that in mind. The world works the same way. Our beliefs has an effect on the gods that may change something about them, or even create an entirely new aspect. Our minds create reality. We keep that in mind too, and go back to the prophet Velith teachings about the Sijic endeavor. In the Dunmare pantheon, which is based on these teachings, there is no existence for the god of time whatsoever. The Sijic endeavor relies on twisting the time to achieve immortality by denying time itself. Now we know that reality relies on belief, and beliefs can change almost anything. Then isn't the concept of time is also just a belief that can be denied? The mind can create its own reality, and world-changing ideas need to be viral. From the Dawn era, when time was not stable or linear until it settled down in the days of the Merethic era, how long did it take to make an agreeable concept of time by the collective thoughts of people? Is it possible that we just live in a timely lie? That time itself is just one of the other illusions that the mundus forced on us. If that's the case, what else is an illusion? Age, getting old, dying. Reality has more riddles that complicate our lives more than time, and belief can change the world is nothing but a worthy shot in my opinion. The multiracial problem ever since creation was to return from this mortal world back to the immortal world where our ancestors came from. Wouldn't this mean that robbing time from the dragon is a good way to do so? John finished the presentation and took a breath. If you're interested, then by all means, read more details in my book. The examination committee seemed to be taking its time considering the book and the wild ideas John came up with. Aging is an illusion? Say that to my wrinkles. The old woman tapped on John's shoulder. Oh, come on. You're beautiful beyond redemption. John turned to her with a smug joke. Didn't expect any less from your book. Now people say you are mad. She said. Blessed be the mad, John said, but got interrupted. For they hold the key to the secret knowledge. A man continued for him. John and the old woman turned to see a dark elf old man in a super fancy robe. Who said that? The old woman asked. Shiagarath. The old man said. Divi, how marvelous to see you here, my dear. Come here. The old woman and exchange a kiss with him. Don't mind us, my friend. This is an old friend of mine. The old woman coolly brushed her action off. She then lowered her tone and spoke. Let me introduce you. This is an honor to meet you once again, great grandmaster. John put a hand on his chest and slightly bowed for the old man. You know each other. Wait, great grandmaster? The old woman looked between John and Divaith Fyr. Well, looks like you have been busy writing a book, John, my boy. Those were some nice ideas, Divaith Fyr said. Thank you very much. Loosen up a bit. And you, little girl, how come you know Alf student? Divaith Fyr asked. I see. He is a business partner and currently exiled from Skyrim, so he is staying at my place for some time. She said, Exiled? Is there someone bold enough to exile one of my line of students? Divaith Fyr turned scary all of a sudden. It is just an arrangement for a couple of years until peace returns to the land. Killing 10 Thalmor arch-wizards and a battalion of 2,000 while being a demigod for 10 minutes is bound to bring trouble to my people. John explained. I see. Fairly good job. Looks like I am missing the fun nowadays. Tell me you were going to get back on them anyway. Divaith Fyr said mischievously. Sure, I just need some time to not attract the attention of any Thalmor ancestor or anything. John replied. Thalmor ancestor? No, you don't need to worry about that woman. She saw her children getting slaughtered a couple of centuries ago and didn't raise a finger. Do as you wish with them. They just use the name of that ancestor as a facade. Really? John was taken aback. Truth be told, Skyrim has more ancestors than Somerset. Dive FYR dropped another bomb. Impossible. Never came across any. John couldn't take that one even from Dive FYR himself. Don't you have that temple on the Snow-Throat Mountain? Hi, Hrothgar. You mean the Greybeards? Exactly. They are the ancestors of Skyrim, and they can even summon other ancestors by their voices from that Sovngarde, just like how the Dunmer summon ancestors by magic. John was having a hard time processing that one. Worry not, my friend. Ancestors are mostly peaceful in all countries. One can only imagine the damage they do when they start throwing spells around. The old woman comforted John. Yeah, one can only imagine, John said with empty eyes. He had a pretty good idea of what she talked about. Anyone who played the game must have tried to take the Greybeards on at least once. Long story short, this was one of those moments when players were abused to death by NPCs. Thank you for your advice, great Grandmaster. It's okay. Here I was planning to pass some time with old colleagues, and here I find a book for a good read. I'll be around, young John, little girl. Dive FYR kept a low key and disappeared away to not attract attention. You didn't tell me you're from Divi's line of students, the old woman remarked. Not really a thing that anyone can believe, and you never told me you're all chummy with him. John said, old-timers like us tend to strike together. Also, Divi and I are just friends. His list of lovers and mine are just too loose, if I may say. She said without no shame. Amazing. I may have just found my ideal grandparents. So proud of you guys. Oh, you big flirt. She said, then looked around. Will they take all day? No idea. But getting late means they are arguing. John looked around and found a mage from the staff and asked, do they usually take this long? Oh, not really, but a priest from the temple has entered the committee to verify the facts from the teachings of Prophet Velith. It's all in progress. The staff member comforted John. In progress, John said to the old woman. Progress? Ah, it's a bitch, she said with an annoyed face. Indeed. Don't worry, I have a feeling your book will strike it high. But I have questions. Ask away. In your book, you left some questions unanswered. Shouldn't a book be about enlightening the reader? Indeed. But the only question I left unanswered is about robbing the dragon. He answered. Robbing time, you mean? She said, you say that time is a lie, but at the same time, time is a thing that can be robbed. Is the dragon is only about time? He asked. The sun? I guess. Isn't that Magnus? Don't think you can confuse me. The worshippers of Auriel symbolize him through the sun, which is the source of magic. Also, the blessing of Akatosh is about magica regeneration. She said, you are right. What more do you understand? He asked. The law of the dragon god of time comes through the sun, which also brings light and magica. If that's the case, then hoarding magica in one's constitution is the answer, which means more meditation to magica. But all mages meditate. No real result here. Indeed, but you needed to meditate stronger. John corrected her. Is it safe? An astral damage might occur, but one needs to perfect the method and find the paths between the flesh and the spirit. Then by certain techniques, one can open the door for enhancing their spirit, then their flesh, then their hearts as far as I could reach. Wait, you can do that. This is as far as I can hold your hand, old cat. Figure out the rest, and let's talk during the party tomorrow. John said with a wink as he noticed the examiners coming out. Wait, what exactly am I lacking then? The old woman couldn't let go of the entertainment moment. John pointed to his head and spoke. Imagination. Oh, I see. The idea of the possibility, in other words. The belief. You sly old woman. John was fascinated by how an old woman was as enthusiastic as a young researcher. Geniuses are geniuses no matter the age. However, it was time. The score of John's book was being announced. John was seriously not knowing how the Dunmer will react to a book written based on their traditional beliefs by an outsider. They may just deny it. But the paper that was hung on the front wall of the hall put a smile on his face. The timely lie verified by the Temple of Reclamation, accepted by the Academy of Shad Ash'Tula, allowed for public release. I never tire of being correct, the old woman said. P4TRE0 in, goal, plus 4 extra. Next, plus 5 extra. Pat Rayon, com/Eldokmizi, remove. PayPal, plus $10 equals extra. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Extras by votes. 5,000/8,000. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7S. Twitter, at Eldokmizi22. Chapter 425, Beasts of Pleasure, plus 18. We didn't have one of those in a long while, guys. Worry not. Not all chapter is plus 18. Asterisk the White Cat Casino, Mournhold Star. As far as hobbies go, John has acquired a lot of them ever since his reincarnation. Magic started as a hobby until it became John's main craft. Cooking is a thing John is invested in, drawing sketches of things from his memories. Enchanting was also a thing. Magical engineering was something he invested in, and the list goes on. But what John discovered about himself, especially after becoming filthy rich, was his collector hobby. He loved acquiring rare things and gaining precious artifacts within reason, of course. The ebony blade may be a cursed item, but it is currently one of the most precious things he carries. He even came to like it once he got used to the unending voices that want him to slaughter everything. John was now sitting in his room in the backyard of the casino. He was enthusiastically cleaning and maintaining his gear, especially the latest piece he acquired, the ebony mail. This armor was a combination of upper body armor made of ebony despite the naming mail. There were chainmail and full plate parts which were adjusted to John's size by magic. Come to think of it, never have I ever killed someone and salvaged his armor for myself. Weapons are okay, but armor. Life is strange indeed. In any game, players would go all nuts about looting what they kill, but in reality, it is somehow not the case at all. Looting who you kill is a crime of sorts, as the defense or offense has ended, and going for the loot is a bandit act. Of course, things are completely different if armies are looting one another, or the item was an artifact like the ebony mail. Anyway, John now has a full suit of ebony for the first time. He wasn't that interested in sturdy body armor before, because of the weight, but the ebony mail is super light. In the end, and after adjusting and polishing, John put all his gear on the stand. The soul of the collector within him smiled proudly for the sight. System, round things up for me. Equals 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 equals. Ebony blade, Daedric artifact. Awakening, 5 out of 10. Absorb vitality. Fortify swordsmanship. Pride/elder staff of power and fate. Deadly sin. Imagination magic. Ebony mail, Daedric artifact. Muffle. Impenetrable. Poison cloak. Krylon, Nordic ebony. Fortify elements. Resist elements. Ozidal's fists of negation, Nordic ebony. Fortify strength. Resist magic. Ozidal's boots of water striding, Nordic ebony. Fortify speed. Water walking. Greed/shadow ether, deadly sin. Possess objects. Devour shadows. Greater kinds token, blessed amulet. Sooth nature. Fortify vitality. Protection against beasts. Ozidal's ring of necromancy, Nordic ring. Fortify conjuration. Automatic soul trap. Nurina's ring, Dummery gold. Magica, regeneration. Equals 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 equals. I managed to recreate all the tool files once again. Somehow, I think I don't use a lot of these functions. Watching his gear on the armor stand, John sighed in his heart and opened the cube. He then took the 2 large orichalcum chains. Well, look at those beauties. The strength is crazy. System. Equals 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 equals. Evil sealing chains, Orcish orichalcum. Seal magica. equals 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 equals. Humph, as I thought. Still, they are quite conducive to magicka. John used telekinesis and made the chains dance like snakes. Suddenly, a hood idea came all of a sudden. John took Ozidal's fists of negation, then started to open the gaps between the plate ebony and the gauntlet. He then adjusted the size of the evil sealing chains by an alteration spell and mounted the chain on the gauntlet by stuffing the cuffs inside the padding and then closing it again. Using the close enchanting table, he adjusted the enchantments on the gauntlet and the chain to fit one another and for the chains to be able to extend and shorten without hindering the user. The end product was the same ebony gauntlet with a thin orichalcum chain going around it. That's sick even if I say so myself. Equals 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 equals. Ozidal's evil fists, Nordic ebony / orichalcum. Fortify strength. Resist magic. Magicka sealing chains. Equals 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 equals. My satisfaction is immeasurable and my day is complete. John can be said to have created another absurd thing after his Krylin mask merging and the deadly sins artifacts. With that, he can call a night. Plus 18 content begins. Have I kept you waiting? John looked at the bed in his room where a certain someone was lying on it. That someone was naked and tied with a soft rope in a kinky way. She was blindfolded and gagged as well. Once she heard John's voice directed to her, Miranda's body showed reaction. She was devoid of any coverage, and her golden meat was as an open buffet for John. He touched her where it was sensitive the most and moved his fingers all the way up to her mouth. He then took the gag out and slid his thumb in. She enthusiastically took his thumb and sucked on it with passion until a gust of cold air came at her side, announcing that John took off his clothes as well. Being in a good mood, John wanted to tease the girl a little bit. He took a large feather and started teasing Miranda with it while she desperately tried to muffle her moans. Once the feather tip came closer to her sensitive spot, John used his forbidden spell Vibrate on the feather. Miranda's body quivered left and right from the stimulation, and she lost control of her voice. "PL, please. You sure?" "Yes." No." She couldn't understand how things ended up like that. Previously, John has flirted with her a few times, and they shared a few drinks in private, but once he asked her to come to his room earlier this day, she complied immediately. The first thing he did was to trap her to a wall and intimately tease her. She was naked before she could even know it. He even tied her arms and led her to the bed. "I know you like it." John's whisper returned her to reality. The pleasure in her head of being handled like that was an experience she couldn't wrap her head around, but she preferred losing herself for it. Out of control. Out of will. The soft rope that tied her body moved all the way up to an iron ring attached to the ceiling. Then John pulled it slowly all the way till she was standing on her toes. She looked at him as he came up behind her and took out a small riding whip. He moved all around her buttock, teasing her for a bit before swinging it lightly and whipping her round but once. Tingles of pleasure traveled all over her body, and a smile appeared on her face for a moment before she took it back. John noticed that with the corner of his sight and grinned. The play kept going for a short time until John decided it was time. He let her down and pushed her on the bed. She lied on her back looking at him while closing her legs together. Only when he stared at her for a couple of seconds when she loosened her legs apart. John wasn't merciful with her as he held her legs and rotated her on the other side. Seeing her but again in front of him, he couldn't help but smack that soft thing. Slowly and steadily, Miranda learned how to raise her bottom up and get into position. John was pleased with the results of her training today and decided to give her a reward. Little John was finally free to take on an Altmare girl for the first time. Miranda was as tall as any high elf, which came close to John's height. A girl like that surely has a body that is more compatible with John than anyone he had before. John's first thrust went slowly and steadily. Miranda was biting the gag as her body was desperately moving to accept that newcomer that was ravaging all the way in until they fit together and the wild night started. John lied on the bed with Miranda soundlessly sleeping over him. High elves were as attractive as they are irritating, but thankfully Miranda had quite the sweet personality. John moved her golden strands of hair away from her face to take a look at the beauty sleeping over him. Her first time with him should have used a lot of her stamina, especially since it has been some time since he had fun with a girl too. Knock, knock, knock. Out of the blue, the door to his room was knocked on. John tensed, and even Miranda woke up looking at him with wide eyes. "Well, what should we do?" she whispered. "Easy there. I'll take you to that place. Just go there and rest," John said as he took the cube and made her go in. He then ruffled his hair and put on a sleepy face before putting a robe on and opening the door. "Oh, old cat, what brings you up this hour?" he asked. "This hour?" The old woman narrowed her eyes. "Not like you to disappear this early, my friend. Somehow, I couldn't find the four of you." "Oh, where are my manners? Please come in." John invited her in. She looked from the outside before stepping in. "I thought the girl Miranda was with you," she said. What? How do I know?" "Come on, the way she followed you out an hour ago." The old woman laughed. "Oh, right. So, how can I help you?" John awkwardly changed the subject. "Nothing really. I just thought you two were done, so we can have a chat." "By all means." "Between you and me, the girl Isha and the boy Miran occupy the opposite room. Unlike you, the two are a mess and can't keep it down." John stared at her before laughing. "So those two have done it too. Should I drop by?" John thought of something naughty. "Leave the poor kids be. Now that Miranda is not here, I want to talk with you about something," she said and continued. "You remember the world that Gollum used to say? Monsters? My friend. Monsters or beasts, any world that suit the description can be used," she said and paused for a while. "Have you ever been told like that before?" "Not really." John shook his head. "Before you leave Skyrim, you were known to be a powerful man and a good mage, qualities many can share. In your town, you are also rumored to be a philanderer. Am I right?" "Yeah, nothing is really a secret about it," John said. "I share some of those things too. When I was you, Fufu, let's just say I had my days." "Heard the stories," John said. "Right. You know, old Divaith Fyr is the same as well. Old Tiber Septim was that too," she said, and kept mentioning a few more names. "You knew Emperor Tiber Septim?" John asked. "Almost had a child with him," she said. John narrowed his eyes and looked at her. Such a strong claim can lead to her demise if the current empire found out. "You know, I don't like the word monster. I prefer beasts," she said. "What? We beasts, we take what we want, possess whatever we seek, kill indiscriminately or with right, have all the lovers we want without anyone thinking it is weird. Don't you think the word beast fairly describe us?" she asked. "I don't know," John said. "I do what I want because I can. Some may think I'm a freak of a sort, but I excuse their ignorance. Few can do what I do, and the life I live transcends even my understanding sometimes. If you ask me what is my purpose in this life, I'd say I probably had it pretty hard in the past one, and I just want to live it to its fullest. Being a beast who takes all the females for himself while mercilessly shredding his opponents. I'll go with that as long as it suits me." John said without a second thought. "Hey, you really don't care?" "I care. I have my people and my family to care about. I can't just go around making trouble for them. That's why I can't be this monster or beast unless when I defend something important. I'm sure my enemies have already got the message." "Well said." The old woman nodded and stood up. "You lot are leaving tomorrow, so it is rude to leave the party I made for you and go on a love rampage. Let's have a good dinner before you leave." John saw her out and then let Miranda out of the cube. "I'm going to my room." She was already dressed and ready to leave. John looked outside and saw Isha's room. He then exchanged looks with Miranda, who shook her head, trying to stop him. "Come on, this will be fun. Let's see what sort of kinks they're into." P4 Tray 0N. Goal. +4 extra. Next, plus 5 extra. Pat Rayon, com/Eldok Meezy, remove. PayPal, plus $10 equals extra. PayPal, me/Eldok Meezy. Extras by votes, 5,000/8,000. Discord. GG/GKCKVA7S. Chapter 426. Long Live the Queen. A coin for your trouble. A double chapter, boys. Daily plus an extra comes to you by at Vidin Cernjak. Part 1. Long Live the Queen. Unlike most cities, Mournhold is a city that doesn't sleep. Streets are active all day long, except for the hour of dawn, where the thieves roam around. One of the busiest kinds of business is entertainment, and stands on top of the industry, the White Cat Casino, which was one of the bazaar's most notable establishments. In truth, it was a small castle for the old woman and her Tong. In that night, the Tong was very active after recovering from the relentless attacks of the last month. They had to put on a strong front to regain the people's faith in them. The most notable and active members in the Tong during the past month were, of course, the Red Guard Strong Woman, the twin Altmare Beauties, and the Masked Giants. These were, of course, what the people called Isha, Mirren, Miranda, and Krylin. None knew they were laborers, as the term wasn't really much of public knowledge, but they were seen as hired help. Isha and John were popular among the Tong members for their approachable personalities, while the two Altmare Cold Beauties always stuck with the old woman. Tonight, however, the situation was calm, and the casino was reserved for a small party. The Tong members scattered around the area, sharing drinks and stories. In a certain corner, John came with 2 drinks in hand, putting one in front of Miranda, and sipped on the other after each Saturday. "Drink, it will cheer you up," he said. Somehow, Miranda's face was expressionless and barely reacting. "Are they out yet?" she asked. "Don't know, but seems unlikely." Miranda was dangerously silent. "Come on, your brother can have a kink too, you know," John remarked. Miranda didn't react. "Look, it is okay to have such a habit. It is not something nasty, but maybe, just maybe you two were so tensed and needed some way to lose control and tension. That's why your tastes are similar," John said. Miranda looked at John, then thought about it. "For as early as I can remember, Mirren and I lived according to rules. I may have wanted to break them for a while, but we can't afford to break them at the same time." She said something vague. John scratched his head. "Rules like what to do and what not to do. Of course, you'll get bored in the end if they are too much." John said, "It is either them or we die. That's so? You're outlaws or something? Outcasts? Exiled? Wanted dead or alive?" Miranda didn't reply until a minute later. "All of them." "Shut up." John didn't buy it. She wasn't bothered with the way John reacted, but looking at the look on his face, she asked, "Aren't you the same as us?" "No," John denied. "I am outlawed by my enemies, clearly not an outcast. Exiled as an agreement. Wanted by only one faction. My possession is strong, you know." I've said too much." She looked away. It seems that she was indeed tensed. John could figure it out. Most people who have a tendency to be an M only do so to experience the feeling of losing control. The reason can vary, but in Miranda and Mirren's case, the two must be tensed up because they put their guard up for too long. Maybe in the past month, the Altmare twins were in a position that they had to learn to rely on other partner, and that's why a relationship developed to the two of them, putting aside Isha's pursuit after Mirren and John's constant teasing of Miranda. Still, John learned more about Miranda in this conversation. It seems their opponent is far too strong for them, to the point where Mirren had to pose and conduct as a female. It is rare to have twins in the High Elven society because of the low birth rate. Being known as a boy and a girl twins may attract their enemies. If Miranda posed as a boy, then their enemies might suspect something, as many females pose as males while traveling, but the Mirren chose to pose as female, which is very unusual for a male, especially for a proud high elf. Two twin girls are not what their enemy will seek at most. John decided to not into details about Miranda, as she still has some barriers, so he decided to go around some unimportant subjects with her to see if she opened up for him or not. "See that?" I was surprised when I found that they serve some of Riften pickled fish here. It seems that old cat has a taste for it. Come and try. You will absolutely love it. This is called a Nuic spirit. You Altmare should love it because of the word anu. It is basically a stamina regeneration potion, but made for only female use. Is for after what we just did. Here it comes. I am completely responsible for the appearance of this dish in this world. It is a cow liver made with strong spices to cover up the stink, something otherworldly from my hometown. You're into that sense of fashion too? Oh, sister, we are so getting along. John's strategy was to go fast through some topics and see what kind of things she is interested in. She liked rare food, Khajiit clothing, and elven alcohol. Somehow she was easy to figure out. But what John didn't expect was the naughty girl under the coverage of a cold face. One thing she mentioned was how she liked small pranks and to make people uncomfortable. It was kind of twisted, but John felt that it was unusual and interesting. Her conduct was also of someone who wanted to be treated with care, even though she is a masochist. She was interested in John and also seemed to be trying to get to know him. It might sound strange, especially after how they slept with each other earlier, but this was their first time relaxing without something to do, and somehow they got past some barriers earlier to date. All in all, John and Miranda found it easy to have many bases of understanding. However, that good mood was over when Isha and Miran showed up. "What are you two doing together?" Miran asked with narrowed eyes. John and Miranda have agreed earlier to keep their relationship a bit of a thing between them until things get a bit more natural. "We're bored since you two disappeared somewhere together for a couple of hours," John said, playing the reverse card on Miran. "Wah, I don't know what you're talking about." Miran denied immediately. John looked at Isha and winked. "Good job, bro. But you guys need to put some muffle runes on the walls next time." John said, "Oh, sure." Isha wasn't shy about it. Muffle runes? Miran was in denial to realize what had happened, but he soon understood and his reality collapsed. Sister, it is not what you think." He looked at Miranda and tried to come up with something to hide his shame. "I don't know what to think," Miranda indifferently replied while looking away. The two seemed to have things to talk about, so John didn't stay and went to look for something to do. It was then when Lon Moss called for him. "She wants you up there," he said. "Old cat." "Fine." John didn't dally and went to the second floor where the old woman's room was. He knocked on the door and was allowed in. "You were calling for me?" he asked. "Here you are, my friend. I trust that you are enjoying a small party." She said, "Yes, thank you." John looked around and saw a large mirror hanged on the wall, which was clearly unusual. Mirrors are rare in the world. The old woman stood in front of the mirror, looking at her reflection and thinking. "I need some help," she said. "Oh, anything." John approached her. "Earlier at the debate, you mentioned the relationship between belief and reality and how the mind can affect the world, but that was about a mass belief phenomenon. Indeed, it made me can't help but think about a state of belief by only one person on a phenomenon that can be affected by only that person's belief. You call them before the placebo effect and something else." "Yes, but that's unintentional." "I see. Then how about making it intentional? To believe in something and make it happen?" Her question was right on the mark. John smiled as he knew that she figured out something. "You are right. It is possible alongside a magica gathering method." He confirmed. "Is that what you do? Is it your secret?" she asked. "Not entirely a secret. My method is a secret, but the training is practiced by many people other than me," he said. "So it is like that. You believe in something and you meditate using it. Just like the Sijic order?" she asked. The Sijic order's beliefs are in their ancestors. They believe in and meditate on the old ways which, or rather, the ancient ancestral way. In Skyrim, the Greybeards are also meditator of the way of the voice. They say sky above, voice within, revealing their faith in kind, the mother of men, and using that faith to meditate, as the only purpose of the voice is to worship. Then we have the old sword singers of Hammerfell. It may be a lost art, But the only reason for that is because they lost their faith in the swords. That was known as the way of the sword. There's also my own way. I don't have an official name for it, but I can call it the timeless dragon way. It has my own sets and beliefs about the world and how to understand it. My girls train on that way with me. Other members of my family figured out a few ways of their own, depending on their aptitudes. Also, as far as I can guess, Archmage Shalater, the founder of the College of Winterhold, has also found a way. They said he was an immortal because he stole the seed of life from Akatosh. Robbing the dragon. The old woman guessed it. True. I'm not sure about Lord Divath FYR, but he should have his own method, judging that he gave me a book that helped me figure out my way. She thought for a while, then asked, "Can you help me figure out the paths between spirit and flesh?" "I will, but there is some complication you need to be aware of. Between the spirit and flesh, there are an energy center, 8 primary energy channels, and 64 energy points. Depending on the nature and the condition of them, your body can train. Not all of the 64 energy points are open for training, and some take ages to open naturally, but my own way requires them all to be open. You need to figure out your own way on this rate." "This is a lot of information, my friend, but I think I can manage." "Fine, these are some primary insights. Remember, never waver on the faith you are on, else you may lose your progress, injure yourself, or get yourself killed." John then used telepathy and transferred some information about meditating to the old woman. She didn't waste any time and closed her eyes after taking a seat. John too sat and kept observing her. Truth be told, he was curious how the old woman would find her way. Judging by her personality, he was waiting for a good surprise. John thought of how far he managed to advance in his way. Belief was surely a big factor. Some believe in a god like the Greybeards, and some believe in their ancestor spirits like the Sijic Order, but John's belief carried a deeper meaning and less reliance than them. He believed in the physical, spiritual, and astral sides of the world and the forces of time and space, the negative and the positive, the Padamic and the Anuic. Some ideas are revolutionary, while some are hearsay to the people of this world, but these were his teachings. His book, The Timely Lie, was a method of establishing his revelations and assuring his beliefs. The reason why he chose Morrowind to publish his book was because of how he praised the Sijic endeavor and figured out that every faith in the world will stand against his ideas. Somehow, the temple in Morrowind approved of his book, considering it a deep insight into the Sijic endeavor that would somehow be a good addition to its teachings. As he was lost in thoughts, he heard a strange sound of glass breaking. That sound came from the old woman. She opened her eyes and looked around. "What was that?" he asked. She narrowed her eyes and hummed. "I think I took a glimpse of something." She said so and returned to meditation once again. John concentrated on the old woman's meditation and felt her magicka overflowing to her energy core. This was the first step of meditating, the spirit gathering. That sound of breaking glass was the old woman transferring her magicka into vital energy in her energy center. Seems like her way is clearing out. The reason behind the breaking glass sound was the large mirror in front of her. John examined it and noticed a strange enchantment. Somehow, this mirror reflects certain things according to who look at it. John saw his reflection without anything strange, but no matter what he did, he couldn't figure out the function without thoroughly investigating. Sometime later, the sound of breaking glass came a few more times, and then the old woman opened her eyes. "I don't get it," John said. She smiled widely. "You're still too young to have a use for that mirror, my friend," she said. "What does it show?" he asked. "What you dearly long for. A false illusion, however. Nothing it shows truly exists, but I think I managed to make use of it." "You use an illusion mirror to create your own belief?" John asked. "I did, and that is, I just wanted to believe that the old me is still redeemable," she said, and walked away behind a curtain. John could hear her fetching out something. She then walked out with a large painting of a very beautiful dark elf woman whose eyes were red and hair was black and curly. John smiled once he saw the painting. He has already figured that out some time ago, but he didn't want to bring it up in front of the old woman. Her identity. Who she is. Who she really is. She looked at him and noticed his smile. Have something to say, my friend? She asked. Long live the queen. Part 2. A coin for your trouble. The old woman looked at him and shook her head, smiling. You knew. I mean, the signs were all over the place, and you didn't really hide it either. Indeed. She turned her head and looked at her image. Somehow, the magica in her body reacted in a unique way. What is that? He asked. An old woman's way. She replied. The magica that was being used was powerful and energetic. Looking at her back, John noticed that her appearance started to morph. Her shoulders widened and her back straightened. Her skin regained liveliness, and the aura around her became stronger. It is as you said, my friend. Time indeed is a lie. She said. And the wrinkles? He replied, reminding her of what she said before. Not there. She turned around to face him. Indeed, a lot has changed. The old woman regained her old appearance once again. Her dunmary dark skin and ruby-like eyes, her villain smile and strong face. What was left of the old woman was her white hair. It seems that this is as far as I can get, she said. With a higher level of power comes better rewards. John assured her. I can tell, she said, proud of her appearance. Sadly, it requires magica to maintain. This is as far as you can get against the bind of time for now, he said. She nodded and tried to walk in her regained appearance. She walked steadily and easily, as if she regained a good portion of her youth. Aren't you curious? She asked. About how low did I fall? She looked at John right in the eyes. Easy there. John Dare's only weakness is female villains, he said, taking a step back. But no, I'm not really curious. The Queen Mother of Mournhold must have her own ways to protect her people. Good way of words you have there, my friend, she said. So what should I call you now? The old woman, the white cat, or Your Majesty, Queen Berenzia? My friend call me Barry, she said. Oh, even John Dare will have difficulties with that, but if suits you, shall I accompany you down the stairs, Barry? Oh, pretty please, she said while locking arms with John. Hold up a second, John said as he summoned greed. An opportunity like that comes once in a lifetime. Greed stuck itself on John's body, covered it in one go, then turned to a fabric firm and took a final shape. That is, she asked. An evening like this requires the right suit, he said as greed took the form of a casual suit and shirt. Neat. Thank you. By the way, I can only maintain this appearance until the middle of the night. How super romantic. Tell me you're wearing glass shoes. You flirt, leading her down the stairs. Everyone present had a hard time recognizing the Barry. None would believe that this woman with a strong aura is the one and only boss of the town. Until the middle of the night, indeed, did Barry disappear. John cherished those moments with the former queen, one of the few people he truly admired in this world. So it is time? Isha asked. Yes, it is time, John replied. The 4 labors were already done, and it was time to leave. As dawn passed, the 4 of them had one last meeting with the old woman who returned to her previous appearance. My friends, I promised each and every one of you a reward for my vault, something to remember me with, she said, acting all old and wise. We will always do. Mirren was somehow touched the most. Lawn moss the things, she asked, and Lawn Moss stood next to her with a few small strong boxes. When my old friend Teresa Aram, a very knowledgeable collector, fled Mournhold, she left some of her artifacts for me. I used them along the years, but I'm not as active as I used to be, she said. First, this is for you, Isha. She handed one to Isha. The latter received it, then looked at what's inside. There was a red ring with a strong aura to it. The vampire ring, one of the more deadly and rare artifacts in Tamriel, is the vampiric ring. It is said that the ring has the power to steal its victim's health and grant it to the wearer. The exact nature and origin of the ring are wholly unknown. The vampiric ring is an extremely rare artifact. Amazing. Isha was gratified from the description. As for you, Mirren, that's for you. Mirren took a similar box and also found a beautiful ring with Altmarai design. For a high elf, this is a treasure artifact. The Ring of Finaster. It was made hundreds of years ago by a man who needed good defenses to survive his adventurous life. Thanks to the ring, Finaster lived for hundreds of years, and since then it has passed from person to person. The ring improves its wearer's overall resistance to poison, magicka, and shock. The Ring of Finaster? Etherius. Mirren wasn't believing he was carrying such an artifact that belongs to an Altmarai god. Miranda, this is for you. Miranda was handed another box with a ring too. The style was Altmarai, just like Mirren's. The Warlock's Ring of the Archmage Serene. In Tamriel's ancient history, Serene saved all of the continent by judicious use of his ring, and ever since, it has helped adventurers with less lofty goals. It is best known for its ability to reflect spells cast at its wearer and to improve his or her speed and to restore health. Miranda felt the same as Mirren. Archmage Serene is basically another Altmarai god. Those two just received Edric artifacts. And finally, my friend John. So those three got rings. He said, yes. Will I get one ring to rule them all? TSK, TSK, TSK. How greedy. She said while shaking her head with a sly smile. Here. She took a box and opened it herself, then gazed at what's inside. She then took what's in it and put it in John's hand. A coin for your trouble, she said. Everyone looked at what was in John's hand and a septim. Isha. A gold septim. Mirren. An old gold septim. Miranda. John gazed at the coin with solid expressions. The three looked between John and the old woman. She was looking at him with a grin, and his face was hard as rock while looking at the coin. Isha and Miranda felt awkward, but Mirren found the perfect opportunity to get back at John. Wahaha, we all got rare treasures, and he got a coin. An old woman's coin. His victorious tone was clear. John teased him too many times until it was finally payback. But then John spoke. This is not an old woman's coin. This is an old man's coin. The old man's coin. Am I right? He looked at Berenzia. Indeed. It belonged to a dear friend of mine, given to him by another old friend of mine. He passed it down for me before he leaves to Akavir and told me I'll know just a man to give this to. She said, what are you talking about? Mirren felt that his victory was baseless. This is the old man's coin. When the Nerevarine was at the end of his epic, he met an old man called Wolf. This man was an aspect of the imperial divine Talos. He gave him one of his coin, and that is it, the coin of Tiber Septim. John explained. What does it do? Mirren asked. Equals 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 equals. Old man's coin. Fortify luck. Equals 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 equals. John smiled as he launched the coin in the air, then it landed precisely in his pocket. Best of luck. Never mind. John's mood became much better now. The one last thing, Berenzia said and took out a bigger box. I intended to give these to you rather than the coin, but you can take them too. She said, pushing forward the chest to John. He opened it and saw a pair of Nordic leather boots in good condition. Once he touched them, he felt strong magic flowing through them and a word of power in the center on the enchantment. The boots of the Apostle. Another relic of Tiber Septim and a true mystery. The wearer of the boots is rumored to be able to fly on the clouds, though nobody has ever seen them used or could even use them. She said, easy, they need knowledge of the Thursdayum. John said, as if it is nothing. Old Berenzia smiled and nodded. Now this is it, my friends. I have nothing more to give you. She said, thank you for your hospitality. Isha said and walked out. Thank you. Mirren and Miranda said, then looked at John. I'll follow you in a minute. He said, and the two walked out. Old Berenzia looked at him, smiling. What is it, my friend? John found it hard to say what he wanted to say. You're worried? She asked. The Thalmor will come to ask questions. The houses of Morrowind will soon realize that I possess the tools of Kagranak and come ask for me. Bounty hunters and assassins will come to investigate. The Empire will send someone. Your enemies will see the opportunity in this," he said. She smiled and walked to the window. "Have you ever sailed across an ocean, John?" He shook his head, but he anticipated one last story from her. "On a sailboat, surrounded by water with no land in sight, without even the possibility of sighting land for days to come, to stand at the helm of your destiny. I want that one more time. I want to be in the Imperial Red Ring Festival, to feel the surge as 10 racehorses go thundering by. I want another meal in Somerset, at Orden at the Palace of Candles. I want another bottle of Altmarai wine, and another, and another. One more night of music at the High Rock. I want to stand on the summits of Skyrim, smoke Dunmery herbs, and feel the sun on my face for as long as I can. I want to walk Alec Desert again, climb the Adamantine Tower, ride the White River, stare at the Khajiit moons. I want to sit in the garden and read one more good book. Most of all, I want to sleep. I want to sleep like I slept when I was the little sheltered princess of Mournhold. Give me that just one time. That's why I won't let any punk out there to get the best of me, let alone the last of me. P4 Tray 0N. Goal, +4 extra. Next, +5 extra. Pat Rayon. com/Eldokmeezy. Remove. PayPal, +$10 equals extra. PayPal. me/Eldokmeezy. Extras by votes. 5,000/8,000. Discord. GG/GKCKVA7S. Chapter 427, Cyrodiil. Couldn't write yesterday, because I was doing some research on Hammerfell. Took me all day. Also, thanks for it, Lewis Waka. 14th of midyear, June, E4 199. For young people hit the road from Mournhold heading west. According to what they were up to, they're going to cross the whole continent horizontally. The four left Mournhold on horseback until they took enough distance, and John decided to blow their minds. He took out a big carriage from the cube. This carriage was something he requested from Berenzia. She introduced him to a carpenter, and he had his custom design for a carriage pulled by 6 horses and had a custom design from the inside. The inside was so fancy that the craftsman was unwilling to give the carriage to John. The seats inside were made by John's preferences, just like a first-class plane seats. As Wolfer always said, John is an expert when it comes to luxury. That carriage was made to endure all manners of roads with many mechanisms and enchantments. It had suspension mechanisms, tire wheels, air conditioning enchantment, dwarven ballista on top, and armor parts. Now, when it comes to traveling, John wasn't humble and conjured 6 Atronak horses to pull the thing. He also camouflaged them with pride to not raise any suspicions. Still, the carriage can be driven from the inside as long as someone is on the captain's seat that has a good view to the outside. This meant that one can be the captain every 6 hours while the other rests. This also means that whoever tries to pursue them will go through hell for the Atronach's superior speed and stamina, as well as the ability of the carriage to run all day long. And so, the journey began. The 4 young people took the road to the west borders of Morrowind, aiming to enter the Empire of Cyrodiil. They traveled across the Sidrasi Varanis region in Morrowind, and their first stop was Kroganmore City, a major city-state under the control of the newest great house, House Sadras. As travelers, the 4 decided not to enter the city or attract attention. House Sadras is the replacement for House Lalu, and there may be trouble if someone found out that they are the laborers that assisted House Lalu. For that, they stayed in the suburbs outside the city and restocked at a traveler's inn. They moved the next day and took a drift out of the road to sightsee the Tormented Spire, an active volcano north to Kroganmore. It was John's first time seeing the flowing lava coming out of the ground and devastating the lands. "Why are we stopping here?" Isha asked. "For as long as I can remember, my world was limited to what I thought I knew. Now I have a strange urge to look at things differently." John said. "Hello. Did the old woman possess him, or something?" Mirren joked. "Not really, but I think she opened my eyes. John said, and looked at the sight in front of him. The world in my head was magic, winterhold, oblivion, fuck shit up, and that's it. I was planning to sightsee the world at some point in the future, but why delay when I could do it now? John said. The three felt that the youngest member in their team became strange all of a sudden. Miranda thought for a while before sitting beside John. It smells bad, she said. I know, he said and gazed forward. John, I really want to sightsee, but I thought we could just head home faster. Isha said, relax. Without his carriage, it would have taken a week to reach Crogganmore, not 3 days. Mirren said and decided to sit down and watch the volcano as well. Isha seemed a bit reluctant. Isha, my friend, we haven't spoken a lot in the journey, so let's have a chat. John said, first time we met was in Riverwood when my friend became El Diablo, remember? Huh, it was a crazy time, man. We had to travel to Oblivion, she said but paused. Go on, I bet Miranda and Mirren don't know the full story. He said, yes. She relaxed and sat down. After some time, she continued. We went to the Shivering Isles, the realm of the Daedric Prince Sheogorath. It was my 6th labor, and John was dragged with me. It was my first, but I haven't realized it by that time. John commented. He was confident and pushed forward without care, throwing spells wherever he went. At first, he used necromancy and weird magic, then we slew the Guardian of Gates of Madness. After that, we went to the dark side and met Sheogorath after doing all sorts of crazy tasks. Somehow, this guy bonded with Sheogorath and became his nephew. What? Nephew? Mirren and Miranda were baffled. Well, I don't brag about it that much, but Uncle Shio came to my wedding and visited me in prison. We are really bonded. John said. I knew this guy was a crazy bastard. Mirren shivered. Truth be told, I wouldn't have made it out of the madhouse if he wasn't a crazy bastard. Isha said, I just don't know if I should beat you two up. John glared at them. Here, here. Miranda patted John's back. Don't comfort him, sis. Anyway, why do you want to return home this urgently? John asked Isha. She looked at the sky for a breath, then replied. My labor's reward is to find my brother. Isha said. What happened to him? John asked. I take back the question if it makes you uncomfortable, but if you need anything, thank you. He is back home now, as far as the Bothia claimed. She said, I see. He was caught with lycanthropy and became a werewolf. After that, he abandoned the mosque of the Spear Battlelord and disappeared. I chased after him, and strange things happened, but I was told to get my hands on this spear and take it to a shrine of Herson, the Daedric Prince of the Hunt. Once I showed up with the spear, everyone there tried to kill me. I killed them first, but something was wrong. The ones I killed were not cultists of Herson, but rather Bothia, and they were an important cult to Bothia at that. Hafiz, the prophet of my labors, managed to summon an aspect of Bothia to stop me from eradicating the cult, and I was put down in one exchange. With a weapon aimed to my head, I was in rage, and my brother was nowhere around. Bothia, however, knew where he was and decided to tell me his location if I agree to do her bidding. The Spear of Bitter Mercy was decided to be my labor weapon. 2 years passed, and here I am. Isha told her story. 2 years. John was taken aback. Isha sighed before nodding. I always wondered why the Spear of Bitter Mercy was your labor weapon. Kinda thought you're Herson laborer back then. I know. So, what about your brother? Zane? He is back home at Sentinel. She said, wait, he is back. His lycanthropy was healed? Mirren couldn't put things together. Bothia said that he is in Sentinel. When I asked about the lycanthropy, she said he is not a werewolf. Nothing more, nothing less. Isha shook her head. I see why you're nervous now. Must have been quite the ruckus knowing that your brother is back home while you were wandering for 2 years. John said, not really. I just got whatever answers the Daedra have for me and took my way out. I don't want any more to do with the Daedra. Isha said, while looking a bit more relaxed than before. Good to know. You know what? You are right. We should relax every now and then now that our traveling speed is like that. She said, rest is over. John stood up. Where to? Isha tilted her head. You have a brother you haven't seen for 2 years, and I had pinpointed many spots on the road to Hammerfell. Looks like I'll have to make priorities in my sightseeing plans. John dragged the other three back to the carriage and adjusted his plans to the minimum. Isha's and her brother's reunion can't be delayed more than that, in his opinion. During the next 2 days, the carriage was already on the national borders between Morrowind and Cyrodiil. John may have traveled across Skyrim, Morrowind, and some in Oblivion, but this is his first time in Cyrodiil. The border checkpoint was on the Velothi mountain range that extended from Eastmarch in Skyrim down to Blackmarch. Once John crossed the borders, he was now in Cyrodiil's Cheydinhal County. Unlike the pale-colored Skyrim or the ashen Morrowind, what John saw after going down the border area was immense lands of green and forests all over the place. The Heartlands, the land of forever strife, Cyrodiil. Cheydinhal was a week's ride from the borders, but the carriage reached it in 3 days. A city that resembles a lot of Morrowind with a large dark elf population. The number of refugees here is more than that of Windhelm. With the pass of House Vici that John was carrying, he was able to enter the city at night. Cheydinhal Bridge Inn was where could the four rest and eat after the long trip. Nothing interesting happened in Cheydinhal City, and the group left in the second day, taking the road north to Lake Rumar. The most fascinating thing was the white gold tower in the middle of the Imperial City, which was built on the central island of Lake Rumar. By just a look from the outside, the sheer size of the city was breathtaking. A city built with white stone in a circular shape. There was no suburbs or anything outside its double walls, as if it is a solitary white palace on water. The white gold tower in its center was so high that its base, which was dome-shaped, seemed gigantic on its own. This is the largest city in the world and the crown jewel of Tamriel, even if the whole continent stood upside down. John thought if trying to just detect all the life signals in this city, and that gave him the scare of his life. This city is larger than the medieval Rome by almost 2 times with almost 2 million inhabitants. Simply speaking, all of Skyrim cities can be fitted in the Imperial City with even room for more. Mournhold may be the largest city John has ever visited, but it was still lacking compared to the Imperial Titan. Best art I found for the city and described based on it. Credit to the artist. http://fav me/db for QF2Z. Still, after John detected the life signals, he detected his own Magicom mark in the city. HM? The only ones I mark are... Oh. John thought of something and smiled. He then used telepathy and linked himself to the one who carries the mark. Vittoria. Oh, you're not hearing things, it is me. John. How? Wait, where are you? Oh, I am outside the Imperial City. Truly? I never thought you can. Oh. Sorry, no, I'm just talking to someone by magic. You okay? Oh, the court mages were all looking at me. Your magic signal frightened them. You're in the Imperial Palace? Yes, go to Tiber Septim District and show the pass I gave you, and you will be shown to the Vici Manor. I will see you there. Oh, John hung up with her and looked to the ones around him. We're entering the city. P4TRE0 in goal, +4 extra. Next. +5 extra. Pat Rayon. com/Eldokmizi, remove. PayPal, +$10 equals extra. PayPal. me/Eldokmizi. Extras by votes. 5,000/8,000. Discord. GG/GKCKVA7S. Chapter 428. Making a Scene. Double chapter, daily +5K bonus. Big thanks to it has Tion056 on P4Tray0N. Despite being the largest city in the world, the Imperial City had only one gigantic gate from the west accessible through a massive bridge that extends across the Lake Ramare's western side to the western district of the Imperial City. At the forefront of the bridge, the eye-catching luxurious carriage crossed the village of Way, a place where travelers rest before entering the city. As the carriage got on the stone bridge, John canceled the illusion on the Atronach horses right away, reveling them as what they are. He wasn't armored or anything, but rather wearing high-class clothing that showed his status as a very wealthy man. The same went for Isha, who wore a red guard outfit with eye-catching appearance, Miranda, who wore a slender Altmarai dress, and even Mirren, who dressed as a man for the first time ever since John met him. "You look good," John spoke to Mirren. The latter looked at him, anticipating how John will come up with a way to tease him, but John looked away, focusing on the road. Mirren somehow felt that John may have shown some RESP about our gay scene, but John opened up a subject. "Shut up." Mirren and Isha lashed at him in a second. "Okay, sorry, just saying." As the three were having it noisy as usual, Miranda decides to speak. "You are not planning to hide?" she asked. "This is the Imperial City. Hiding is really a bad idea," John said. The three looked at him and couldn't comprehend what he has in mind. "Just think of all the fun we can have out in the open rather than just hiding," he said. "What are you really after?" Isha asked. "When was the last time John Dare was seen?" he asked. "More and hold. And which person did he come in contact with the most?" "The old woman." "I get it now." Isha understood what John was after. "You are making an appearance here in the biggest city in the world to divert attention from the old woman?" Mirren asked. "Yes, and it will be fun for my enemies to try and search every nook and cranny in the Imperial City to find me. It would take years," John explained. "How long are we going to stay?" Isha asked. "A couple of days, screw around, have fun, and then disappear." The plan was simple. The old woman, Berenzia, was the last person who came into personal contact with John Dare. She usually treats people with coldness and is known for her high and mighty attitude, even with how much she lost during the last 200 years. John knows how capable that woman is, but his respect for her wouldn't make him want to cause her annoyance. As soon as the fancy carriage crossed the bridge and its multiple gatehouses, the carriage was on the city island, taking up the road to the large city gate. The queue of people and carriages trying to enter the city got disturbed by the sight of a carriage with a strange appearance being pulled by 6 Atronach horses and had no driver. Unlike Nords who frown on magic, Imperials were fully open to the subject, and mages with uncommon abilities are mostly idolized. For that, common folk would try not to offend the mage lords, and in John's case, they cleared the road for his carriage. John's arrival at the large city gate, however, drew an equal amount of attention from the guards. An Imperial officer blocked John's way and demanded, "Halt! Do you have a permit?" The officer asked. John walked out of the carriage and silently passed his pass with telekinesis to the officer without speaking. "Please refrain from needlessly using magic as long as you are inside the Imperial City," the officer said. John nodded. The officer was irritated by John's silent attitude, but all he could do was to check the permit only to find it a pass with the seal of House Vici. "You're granted passage. May I inquire your name, what's inside the carriage, and the reason why you're visiting the Imperial City?" "John Dare, former Thane of Winterhold," John said while passing over 2 badges with telekinesis. The first was from the College of Winterhold, carrying his name and rank as an expert mystic, while the other was from Shad Ashel Academy, carrying the rank of honorary member. A former official and a member of 2 large institutes of magic being invited by House Vici, the Imperial officer realized he can't mess that one up. The carriage's door was opened, and the officer looked inside. They introduced themselves with false names and prepared identities. "Sir John Dare, it would be my honor to guide you inside the city." The officer changed his attitude. "Please," and John was finally let in. Seeing the Imperial City like this was surely different from the outdated version in his mind. This city looked larger from the inside than the outside, and the main road was bustling with life. The first district anyone would go in is the Noble Plaza District, formerly known as Talos Plaza District. It is the high-end residential area and also was the first one to access. John always thought it was a mistake to position the nobles in such a place, especially since it is a busy area, but according to the documents from the Great War, The nobles showed one hell of a resistance during the sacking of the imperial city when the emperor had no choice but to flee, giving their lives for the sake of many commoners. Anyway, the carriage moved through the main street and arrived at the central plaza. The same old dragon statue was there in the center, although many things seemed very different from the games. This way, the imperial officers led the carriage while riding one his horse. He guided John to parts in the city that John didn't even know it existed. The area he was in was filled with large villas built on the style of the imperial city and seemed to be the houses of the rich and powerful. The imperial officer stopped against a certain villa and talked to a guard. Right away, the gate was opened and the imperial officer took his leave. "John, you really came." From the large building right behind the gate, a certain young lady came out. "Vittoria, you look lovely." John jumped off the carriage and walked to Vittoria. The two got closer and kissed like lovers who haven't seen one another in a long while. Isha, Mirren, and Miranda were at a loss for words how things developed that fast as they got down if the carriage after him. John introduced them to Vittoria, and the opposite then looked at the imperial brunette. Her hair was in curls, and she was wearing a red summer dress with white dots, which seemed a bit sassy for this time period. Still, John loved it right away. "Come on in, we're having a party." Vittoria led the way in the villa, and the rest followed. "I never expected to run into you," John said. "I never expected to hear from you. You've been out just for 2 months, and everyone misses you so much." She said, "Not the longest I've been absent." He said, "But it'll be, right?" "True. How is Winterhold?" "Standing strong. Alina is really doing a good job, and thanks to your divine protection sort of thing, no one even has the audacity to run wild in your turf." She said, "What happened?" John frowned. "Not much, but a few weeks ago, I heard a report that some idiot came out and claimed that you abandoned Winterhold for good, then tried to have his way with Alina. Just before Alina could rip him to shreds or Wolfer to make a human meat paste out of him, a glowing red sword came out of nowhere and made a mess out of the man." "Oh, Bloodskull. I left it there." John had a reason to leave Bloodskull behind, and that was for this kind of situation. When he attained temporary immortality at the end of the Battle of Winterhold, he imbued some of the cosmic energy he gained from around the tower into the sword, giving it its own consciousness and power. The sword would defend his family in situations like that, especially if one showed any malice towards his family. "Do I have any big sword protecting me as well?" Vittoria asked. "No, but as long as I am here, you should try that sword," John said. Vittoria acted dissatisfied and spoke. "Humph, it is only natural. I thought you would have something special for my birthday." John sweated profoundly and thought as fast as he could. "Oh, well, of course. A gift is on its way." Meanwhile, 50% of his focus was inside the cube looking for something suitable as a gift. "Really? I don't mean to cause you trouble judging by how you were on the road, but did you really remember my birthday?" Vittoria said. "Of course." John avoided a crisis of his carelessness and followed Vittoria in. As they bypassed the entrance, the villa seemed to have a large courtyard with a garden, a pool, and many guests spending their time everywhere. The thing is, barely a few of them really looked like high status or anything. As you know, I am a member of the cult of Debella. The ones around here are my friends from the cult and from other noble houses, but mostly they're artists, dancers, entertainers, and bards. She said. It was indeed that way. There were entertainment magicians who floated on the pool and made a show by controlling the water. There were bards singing, philanderers roaming around, drunk people, escort girls and boys, strongmen and comedians. Well, this party is lit. John couldn't help but praise. Even John Dare can't do such a large-scale debauchery in public. He looked at Isha and the rest. "You guys can socialize, but let's stay in each other's sight. Don't cause trouble, without me, of course." He said, "Let's go." Isha took Mirren from his arm and disappeared in an instant. "Wow." Even Vittoria had a praise. "You can join us then." John took pity in Miranda and invited her. Blending in the party was easy. Activities such as throwing paintballs interacting with mimes, and tasting samples were really common. John also gave the death glares to some scummy dealers. What worried him, however, was a few vampires blending between the public, but knowing that Cyrodiil's vampires don't eat where they shit made John just keep an eye on what matters. As he finished a round of witnessing what the place has to offer, he went to a private room accompanied by Miranda and Vittoria. Part 2. The private room had a tub, a bed, some liquor, and some entertainment tools for various tastes. John sat on the bed while the two girls chose to sit on chairs. "So, what brings you to the Imperial City?" Vittoria asked. "I was around. Being around doesn't mean you can just use your identity in public. 1,000,000 gold septims are on your head, John. Well, you know the drill. One can't have much fun while trying to hide." John said, "Fun? Are you trying to cause a scene? Here, in the Imperial City? You know your enemies are simply everywhere, and you have a few to no friends, especially after the way you rejected the Synod and dodged the Empire's summons." She said, "Haha, the Imperial City is dangerous and all, but is the only place where the Thalmor can't run wild. Meaning, when they hear I am in here, they will spend every resource they have to act inside the city. Of course, they will pull every string in favor they have, but they will be sure that I am hiding here." He said, "Why you actually will be long gone?" "Depends." John didn't deny or confirm. "You are playing a dangerous game this time. You can't dance on the edges without the fear of falling, and you know I can't assist you if it is too risky." "Sure. Still, part of our relationship is based on benefits," John said as he passed a flask of blue glowing potion to Vittoria. She narrowed her eyes as she held the flask and opened it. The smell of the mixture inside made her freeze in place. "This is, as business partners, I am well aware that you have at least 1 or 2 agents in my organization for the sake of maintaining peace. I'm also very aware that you are paying close attention to the new, unrecognizable products in my organization, especially the ones that are not for sale." John said, "Oh, you have to understand that," Vittoria tried to explain. "I do understand. I don't mind it for business' sake." "Good. So, this is that product you are keeping behind tight doors," she said, recognizing the existence of the potion. "I call it the Inuic Spirit, Magica, and Vitality Nourishment Potion for female use only." John said, "Nourishment potion? You're bluffing?" Vittoria could hardly buy it. "Of course not. The potion is just an ordinary regeneration potion on its own, but with another thing, it will become a nourishment potion." The term nourishment potion is as fictional as the philosopher's stone in this world. Simply increasing your magica and vitality by a potion is the dream of every alchemist there is. This potion is only an ordinary regeneration potion if not used with a meditation way, and only by a female, as it contains a high amount of natural Inuic energy that can be transformed by a female to vital Inuic energy. Men can benefit from that by exchanging their vital Padamic energy with vital Inuic energy through certain techniques during sexual intercourse. I may have not explained this before, but natural energy is what exists in nature and can be absorbed by a certain gender. Vital energy is what exists in the body and can be absorbed by the opposite gender. Blame me if it is too complicated. John explained that much to Vittoria, whose expressions were baffled. "What about the male version?" she asked. "There isn't any, I'm afraid. We need an organic source, but that is a bit tricky, sadly. Also keep that in mind." John pointed his finger at her forehead and used telepathy to pass down a watered-down version of a spirit meditating way to her. John's plan was to rope in Vittoria further and make sure she is assisting his company wholeheartedly while he is absent. The Inuic Spirit Potion can only be refilled at Winterhold now. Also, Vittoria is cute. "So beneficial enough?" he asked. "This is a nice birthday gift, and indeed, I will wholeheartedly assist you." She sat on his lap. The two seemed to be ready to go wild, but they turned to look at Miranda. John signaled for her to come and sit on his other side. She reluctantly came closer, but John slapped her butt and pulled her right away. "Oh, wild. Vittoria seemed to like it. An amateur like Miranda was under the mercy of two sex fiends at the moment. She was mostly enthralled by John's actions of how she loses control to him. Vittoria, on the other hand, had her favorite activity in mind and slipped between John's legs. John was actually looking forward to that. Vittoria's oral skills were what can separate her from the rest. For that, John closed the doors by telekinesis and secured everything, knowing that there is no too careful in the Imperial City. After some time, the three were lying in bed together. John exchanged energy with the girls and started circulating it for them inside their bodies. This action alone caused their bodies to heat up, and they stuck closer to him, moaning from pleasure. After that was over, Vittoria was dressing up to go out first. "You're still hard? Should I send you some of my friends?" she asked. "Friends? Don't worry, I know your tastes, no escort girls. I'll arrange you some of my friends from the society. They may be bimbos, but nobles at the end of the day." "Sure, why not?" John didn't even think of refusing. More girls means more progress, and of course, he takes care of them in the end. As Vittoria walked out, Miranda spoke. "You're okay with that?" she asked. "The harem tag is there for a reason. I mean, you're spreading information around about yourself that way?" she asked. "That I am here having fun and not caring about the world? Well, I should live up to my reputation and stand out somehow." John said, "I think you can stand out using better methods," Miranda said as she went up and got dressed. John thought of how to stand out in the Imperial City as fast as possible, but nothing came to his head other than making a big scene in a big party like this. But fortunately for him, things were taking a better turn. Vittoria appeared all of a sudden and looked at John. "It's your two friends. They are having some trouble." As soon as he heard so, he was in his clothes at once and walking out of the room. Looking around at the bar area, there seemed to be some strong men harassing Isha and Miran. One of the men was knocked down by a headbutt from Isha, and Miran was locked down by another man. "Those are—" John was already giving a sharp glare. "The arena's red team. TSK. Weaklings." John moved past the people standing around. Seeing the towering Nord coming by, everyone knew a scene is happening. The red team saw John walking by and smiled like maniacs. Some Nords, some Imperial, a couple of Bossmare, and an Argonian. "What's your business, big guy?" One of them stood up to John, but his vision became chaotic all of a sudden as the world was flying everywhere around him. Then it just became wet. Of course, he was sent flying to the pool. Another came running at John, but was carried from his face with one hand and got tossed at the man who was pinning down Miran. John's actions were effortless, as if he was tossing around children. The difference in power was pretty clear. "How did those weaklings put you down?" John carried Miran from his nape and got him to stand up. "That man, he's strong." Miran pointed at the man who was standing at the back of the lot. He was a large brute Imperial, just standing there as if nothing has to do with him. "The fuck is your business?" John asked. "The fuck is yours?" The Imperial man replied with a nasty smile. "Oh, you'll soon know." John was about to go and give him a beating, but Vittoria held him back. "This is Darius, champion of the red team." Vittoria came from the back with a weary face. John looked at the Imperial man closely and assessed him. He was too large for an Imperial, but he looked like one. Short black hair, rough Roman looks and all. A champion of an arena team should be a mighty warrior. The man smiled and looked at John with an amused face. "He is also the current grand champion." Vittoria added, "Well, ain't that lovely?" John became annoyed. A grand champion is so much the top title in the arena, meaning that this guy is the toughest son of a bitch in the Imperial arena. John gave up on conversing with the man who was just coldly staring at him. "What did he do?" John asked Isha. She stood beside John with an annoyed look on her face. "He came after Miran," she said. "What for?" "He said he wants him, and—" As she was explaining, she got interrupted. "He is gay." From the side, a short, slim old man said. John looked at the man, looked at Miran, then looked at the red team's Darius. "Well, I'll be damned." John looked at Darius with a funny look. "No, You can't have him. His gay scene is mine. Hey, Miran and Isha were not happy about it. The red team's Darius walked to John, and the two flexed their shoulders at each other. You better stand aside, boy, or you'll get these hands. Darius said, I don't even need to raise a hand to deal with you. My voice alone will do. John said, Oh, out your way, punk. Darius said, while raising his hand. Phoo. John was about to get rid of Darius, but something stopped him. Why don't you two calm down for a second? The short, slim, old man from before appeared right between the two and pushed them away from each other. The thing is, both John and Darius were pushed away 4 steps each by just an old man. Just as if it is nothing. Oh, that was going to get dangerous. Somehow, even the old man was impressed by how he pushed the two. John couldn't comprehend how a monster like that slipped beneath his radar. Arena Master. Nice to see you here, sir. Vittoria recognized the man. Arena Master? John didn't hear about the title before, but it pretty much explained itself. The man on top. For such a frail-looking old geezer to be the Arena Master, let alone he is a wood elf with such a cone-like weird hairstyle. John took a chance to realize how deep the capital's water run. Lady Vittoria, my dear, happy birthday. You look as good as your mother when she was your age, maybe even better. Don't tell her I said that. I must say I was excited to see your invitation on my desk this morning. House Vici indeed has a lot of wine barrels lying around to spare. The old geezer turned out to be a chatterbox. Thank you, Arena Moss. Must be quite the hard work maintaining the party. Look at all those big boys ready to chop each other's head. I feel so sad. Young men should drink together then fight. Fighting sober. Huh. TSK. Young ones these days. Arena Master, don't worry. I just came here to drink in peace. I didn't really want to cause a scene, or... Old man. John spoke, interrupting him. The old man looked at the rude youngster. She wants to say something. John pointed at Vittoria. Oh, excuse me. The old man looked at Vittoria. Arena Master, I would like to introduce you to my friend over here. She pointed at John. He is John Dare. It turns out she was just trying to introduce him. John furrowed his brows, but Vittoria winked. Who the fuck is John Dare? Darius of the red team asked in dissatisfaction. You said John Dare? The old boss mare scratched his cone-like hair. You mean the junior champion of Skyrim 3 years ago, the Thane of Winterhold, the genius mage of Winterhold's college, and the businessman you made a big deal with. Strangely, the old man recognized John to the point that made John shiver. He was not that famous outside Skyrim, unless when it comes to the courts of politics. You know me? John asked. Of course, I am an adoring fan of all the young heroes like yourself. Say, want to join the arena? The old man asked. John looked at the old man and smiled. Fine, but if you give me that bastard. John pointed at the grand champion, Darius. Humph. Dream on, Nord. I'm the grand champion. You have to grind your way up to me. Darius wasn't even bothering with John. John looked at the old man, waiting for an answer. I can't just give you the grand champion. How about you grind your way up the ranks? The old man said. How about you arrange all day tomorrow for me? John asked. I'll donate 1,000 gold coins for the arena. By Azra, you're staying. John smiled as he found a good opportunity to make a big scene. Maybe too big a scene. I'm booking all the arena fights tomorrow. As John said that, the old man opened his eyes wide and took a deep breath in. Ha ha, jolly good. One man against all odds, starting from the rank of a pit dog all the way up. Ha, that's good. It has been years since anyone did that. Fine, you're up. The old man was happy and cheerful. He turned around and looked at everyone inside the party. What are you waiting for? Spread the word. P4 tray 0N. Goal. +4 extra. Next. +5 extra. Pat Rayon. com/eldokmeezy. Remove. PayPal. +$10 equals extra. PayPal. me/eldokmeezy. Extras by votes. 5,000/8,000. Discord. GG/GKCKVA7S. Up. Chapter 429, The Arena 1-2. Double Chapter, Daily Plus Monthly Extra. The arena was shaking. Moments of hype on moments of shock came one after another as one man started dominating the ranks for a full day. He displayed skills that can't be explained and cast spells that made the crowds go crazy. Nirn had many champions and powerhouses, and the Imperial Arena was a gathering for the elites. In the eyes of the public, the Grand Champion is the top dog, and in the eyes of the powerhouses, the Secret Masters are the marvel of martial arts and magic arts, but few could explain today's skills. Artifacts, magic, ancient arts, unrecognizable skills, and many more. Still, the hype was real. Each match was better than the one before it. The question that remained in the hearts of many people, who is John Dare? Some hours earlier in the Bloodworks waiting room. Just why on Nirn do I have to wear that? John asked the arena master. The arena raiment is a must, I'm afraid. Don't worry, it is clean and enchanted and all. I polished those ones myself. Wonderful, isn't it? Just put on one and go. You can't imagine how the reaction of the public was when the news spread. Oh, it must be a dream. I'm really dreaming. Aha! The Chatterbox Arena master irritated the 9 lives out of John, but that mysterious old boss mare was still a master warrior. John had to tread carefully around him. Still, being forced to wear one of those low-grade armors in order to participate, a rich guy like John was sighing in his heart. Fine, give me a second to put on the rest of my gear. John agreed and disappeared in a changing room, followed by Mirren. The two went in, and Mirren stared at John. Heavy raiment or light one? He asked. Won't make a difference, but I prefer heavy. Give me the biggest size you find. John said, while retrieving an enchanting table from the cube. Mirren brought the biggest raiment he found and put it in front of John. Smells like an orc. Indeed. The two used magic to clean the armor, and John dissolved the enchantment as fast as he could. The arena raiments normally have a movement and a charisma-boosting enchantments, so John only needed to focus on those. He added Fortify Dexterity and Fortify Charm, with a grand soul molded inside, the Star of Azura. It took him quite a while, but John can be already considered one of the best enchanters in Tamriel. Whether it is linking enchantments, binary enchantments, or merging enchantments, John is a master of the art. Yesterday, he worked on a piece of gear after the clash between him and Darius settled down. He created another piece of marvel that he intends to use in the matches. His most notable artifacts were Ozidal's Evil Fists, Kind's Greater Token, the Elder Staff Pride, the Shadow Ether Greed, as well as Ozidal's Helm of Vision, that he didn't use in a while. The helm was a Nordic Germunbu made of ebony and got its ceremonial horns pulled out to not get in the way. After reforging by Wulfur, the helm was personally carried by John around, but he was using Krylin instead. Now that John and his secret identity as the mercenary Krylin had to stay separate, John finally found a chance to publicly associate himself with this fancy helmet. Equals 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 equals. Ozidal's Helm of Vision, Nordic Ebony. Fortify Range. Aim Assist. Equals 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 equals. How do I look? John asked. Acceptable on human standards. Mirren replied. Oh, that's nice coming out from you. I'm not an ungrateful person. I haven't thanked you for yesterday, and it was really unnecessary to spend 1,000 gold to settle my dispute. Mirren said, Oh, don't worry. Even if it wasn't for you, challenging the Grand Champion is one of the best methods to grab attention. Oh, so that fool has a use in the end. Glad to hear. Best of luck, John Dare. Thanks. John fist-bumped with Mirren and flipped the old man's coin on his way to the arena, but before doing so, he put on a blue badge on his arm. The blue team, it has been a long while since the badge was carried. Now with the emergence of the red, green, and indigo teams, this badge was gathering dust for a long time. The arena master appeared beside John. Where do you come from? John asked, as he didn't notice the man's presence at all. Foo, the secret of the craft. Don't go out there until you are introduced. As we agreed, make the first match as explosive as possible. Fine, I am ready. All right. The arena master pulled a chain on the walls, and the iron gate opened. The arena. Last night, a rumor spread around the city like wildfire. The grand champion had a disagreement with a noble from the north, and the noble decided to book all the arena fights tomorrow all by himself for a 1,000 gold septims. The news was very unusual during these times of political unrest and high prices, and many people were hooked up for entertainment. Of course, it wasn't that big of a deal, as the arena was not even 1/3 full by the next day. People would come here daily to gamble, but it wasn't anything as glorious as the seasonal tournaments. That's why the arena had barely this much spectators. In the VIP section, Vittoria and her friends gathered up while Miranda and Isha blended in the crowd. They had to spread some words and pay some crowd influencers and bards. As the largest arena on Tamriel, the Colosseum-like building was designed to house all manner of monsters and inmates. John's contribution guaranteed him all kinds of matches he desires. Still, he was bound by the rules. He has to use the arena's armor. He can't loot enemies aside from picking up arrows. He has to start from the rank pit dog, no matter how much he disliked it. And he can use about any style, weapon, or magic he wants. And that's how things have to go. The announcer stood on his platforms with a shining trumpet in his hands. He blew the trumpet for all gathered to quiet down and spoke in a sonorous voice. Behold, sirs, gentle and ladies in seats, the truth of news you heard on the streets. In the city comes a visitor to Cyrid. In Skyrim he is famed, but not in Valenwood. Sir Johnhild Firemane, you know him, John Dare, a giant's descendant with hair as a flare. By the announcement, John walked out from the bloodworks to the arena, carrying his helm high up for the cheering crowd. From the looks of it, the arena was larger and had more pressure than what he imagined. The scale from the game to the real world was always 1 to 10, as it seemed. Sir John's team is blue with no members to support, walking in lone without any escort. He raises his hand and salutes the crowd, and the spectators reply with a cheer so loud. John walked and stood in the middle of the arena. He looked to the arena master and gave a nod. Sir John carries no weapon, so magic I reckon, and eager to start with a nod he beckons. The opposite gates open and his opponent will appear, dreadful for the newbies, and its sight brings drear. The opposite gate opened, and a strong presence came from there. It was by no means human. What followed was no footsteps, but rather hoof stomps. The identity of the opponent was clear. A minotaur. It is Javelin. God damn it. I bet my money on John Dare. I shouldn't have been this hasty. The crowd reacted with negativity. Apparently, that Javelin fellow is bloodthirsty Minotaur, known as the newbie's killer. The 3 meters tall, towering Minotaur walked while dragging chains in his arms and legs. Once he was out in the arena, the gate behind him closed and his binds went off. The Minotaur was unarmed or unarmored, but the arena's servants threw him a large blade that befitted his size. He carried the blade on his shoulder and faced John. John looked at the Minotaur with interest. Last time I faced one of your kind, I didn't have a proper fight, John said. The Minotaur didn't seem to be interested in replying, or rather didn't seem to understand the common language. He looked at John with solemn eyes, sure of his victory, pitying the poor soul that will face its end by his hands while murmuring in its native tongues. Another human to kill, how annoying. Hey, heard that. Somehow, John replied in the Minotaur tongue. The Minotaur looked at John with expressions daunting what it just heard. In truth, John can speak the shamanic wild tongue, the druidic spirit, the draconic, the Tiagra, and the elven. The shamanic wild tongue was what the Minotaurs used. Human, did you just talk? The Minotaur roared. I don't know what you were surprised by that. Humans talk, you know. Oh, don't test me. I'll get angry. The Minotaurs stomped while saying so. Well, ain't you an easy guy to tease? John was baffled by the Minotaur's sense. Humph. Human, are you a minotaur slaver? Oh, is that a thing? I said don't test me. The minotaur stomped the ground, once again making a strong sound with his hoof. Okay, geez. No, I'm not a slaver. I am a mage, and my name is John Dare. Oh, asterisk snort asterisk, I don't ask for every human's name I get to kill. Speak, how do you speak in my tongue? Oh, well ain't you a rude one? Want to know how I learned that tongue? You have to earn that, fella. Javelin, is that your name? Oh, no, it is Javelier and Fuxo's drum hoof. Stupid humans can't even get one name right. The Minotaur roared in anger. Oh, that's a nice name. I'll call you Jack for short. Oh, from what John can tell, the longer the name, the higher the status in the Minotaur community, so he made the name even shorter. I met a Minotaur called Malvis Blackhorn once. Know of him? The Minotaur, or rather Jax, looked solemn for a second before his eyes turned bloodshot and his snot let out a strong breath. He held the blades with two hands and seemed to be willing to send John to oblivion just by hearing the name. You, fucking, slaver. Oh, losing all sense, Jax aimed for John's head as he charged with the blade. John disappeared in second and appeared where Jax was before the charge. Easy there. Die. Part 2. Seeing a human and a minotaur talk was by no means usual. The whole arena felt it was quite a strange scene, but rather not fun. Simple folk only want to see blood, guts, and limbs, so when Jax attacked John and the latter dodged at the last second, the whole crowd cheered. Someone teleporting like that was not something they see every day. Still, hidden in the crowd, many eyes were not even interested in the fight. Those were the ones who know what the name John Dare means. Mages from the Arcane University of the Imperial City, agents from various intelligence agencies, and various kinds of people, all what they have in common is an interest in John Dare. All of those people can agree on one thing right now, and it is how problematic John's actions were once he popped up out of the blue in the Imperial City and made a big scene like yesterday's. All the interested parties knew that John Dare is no easy asset to make use of, so they were all on the wait-and-see mode. Undoubtedly, the Thalmor spies in the capital must also be sending emergency signals to their nearest outposts. Still, the fight in the arena right now was a good way to assess what John Dare is capable of doing. After he teleported behind the Minotaur, he didn't attack, but rather put his helmet on and raised his fists up. Is he going against the Minotaur, barehanded? None would believe that a human can put up a fight against a Minotaur with the power of Jax just barehanded. John, however, squeezed his hands while taking a stance and charged at Jax. Weak human. Jax was infuriated and stomped towards John. Idiot Minotaur. John's leg redirected Jax's stomp towards him, and with a punch, John buried his first in Jax's abdomen, sending the Minotaur 5 meters to the back. Wow. The crowd erupted seeing John punch a Minotaur and forcing it to retreat. Jax massaged his abdomen and glared at John. The Minotaur recognized John as a threat now. It stomped in its place that charged at John with all its might. John took the charge from the side by catching Jax by his horns and twisting his body, sending the Minotaur away by a drop move. Jax crashed back on its face, but got up right away while foaming from anger. John was having fun. His opponent was larger than him and physically very strong. Such a chance to have a suitable sparring partner wouldn't come every day. Jax, however, learned from his mistakes. John is not his run-in-the-mill human, so he needs to come up with an idea. The Minotaur positioned his blade up front and took a slow approach to John, who raised his arms and put a guard. Snort. Jax's coming attack was a stab that John pushed away with the back of his hand. The second was an up-down slash, but John countered before the attack would come to palm strike, pushing Jax a step back. Not a chance. Seeing John this close, Jax wanted to slash at him as fast as he can from the side, but as the slash was about to hit, John was up in the air at Jax's eye level, performing a flying kick. The head of the Minotaur realized the pain, and at that moment, Jax realized he would lose to John if this continued, and losing is sure death. That's the fate of any Minotaur fighting in the arena. Jax had to step up his game. With his will to survive burning inside him, Jax unleashed a flaming strike from his blade, enveloping 5 meters radius around him. He could see John getting swallowed by his flame. As his flame settled down, Jax looked around to see nothing around him. "Wow, didn't expect your shaman." A voice came from above him. Jax looked up to see a man standing on his horns. "Hey, Chow. A simple trick, but now that you used magic, I think it is my turn." "Oh." John jumped up and descended on Jax's shoulder with an axe kick, disarming him from his blade. As he reached the ground, John jumped with a double kick to Jax's abdomen, pushing him back. The Minotaur became irritated and stomped hard on the ground, making fire spread from his hoof in a pool of flames. The crowd cheered and screamed as they saw the scene turn more heated than usual. John didn't care how much flame can Jax summon. He admired the physical ability of the Minotaur that was on par with his, but if it is magic, would not KSD, Whirlwind Fury Tempest. John lowered his posture and put his arms forward with a whirlwind sprint shout. He was unleashed forward like a loosened arrow. Jax saw John coming in his flame pool and ready to face him. A clash happened in the fiery ring, and Jax was pushed back out of it with John. The two were looking hands and pushing against each other. The crowd jumped from the sight as a man and a man-bull were pushing each other around with mere physical strength. Jax was on the losing side. "Human, you are strong." "Oh, I'm just getting started." John suddenly pulled back instead of pushing forward and fell on his back, intentionally with Jax over him. At that moment, Fusaroda, John unleashed the unrelenting force on Jax that was over him. Being on top, Jax felt the energy breaking him apart as he was launched in the sky for who knows how many meters. From the sidelines, the people saw Jax get tossed up for almost 20 meters. Not so fast. Surprisingly, John was right after him in the weirdest of ways. He was jumping up the sky and standing on nothingness as if there was something to stand on. Each step he took was as if a hidden platform waiting for him, and with each jump, a strange force appeared under his feet. In a couple of seconds, he was over Jax. "Now get wrecked." The chains of John's gauntlets held on Jax by his arms as John's fists lit up with lightning. 2 Thunder Cookie spells descended on Jax, sending the two of them down on the arena ground as fast as a falling bolt of lightning. The crowd were maddened by what happened and waited for the dust to settle, only to see John standing alone with a pile of pale as under him. It was the shaking truth. John's opponent disintegrated from the attack. To disintegrate a colossal minotaur, such as Jax or Javelin as the people knew him, what kind of destructive force can that man simply wield? Amazing. I didn't lose my money. I didn't lose. Impossible. He won. By the 8. The people were screaming from the heated fight as John took off his helm, looking as good as he entered the fight. He waved to the people around him and acted as the arena idol. This show of power was on purpose. Not anyone could defeat Jax the Minotaur by just fighting head-on. This meant that John is going to skip a rank by just that fight alone. Actually, it was a prior arrangement that John fights the meanest Minotaur in the arena to make a big scene from the start. Now, after half an hour of rest, the news should spread around the arena district like wildfire. The announcer blew his trumpet and thought of some words to say. Sir John won the fight and turned his foe into dust. He blew it sky high and with a thundering gust. Sir John is no longer a pit dog, but a brawler, a warrior and a mage, and also a hauler. The Thunder Voice, people call him with a cheer. His next fight is drawing Don't Stray and Stay Near. His opponents. Any chance you say that coming part normally? John called for the announcer. None at all. Ahem. His opponents are from all teams next round. A royal battle that knows no bounds. John sighed from the cheeky announcer and his rhymes, and then headed back to the bloodworks. In a barely lit room with smooth stone floor, Jax opened his eyes. He was dizzy but felt something in his hand, staggering to sit up with. He shook his fuzzy head and looked at what's in his hands. It was a token of kind. Jax was bewildered to see such a tribal sign in his hand. Only a few have the honor to bear the token of the Mother of Beasts. He came to his senses right away and looked at the strange space around him to only see a black cat sitting on a chair lazily staring at him. "Where am I?" "You are hired," the cat replied. Huh. Jax couldn't comprehend how a cat replied at him. Nefertiti kindly explained further. "He needs a punching bag. You are hired. P4 tray 0N. Goal, +5 extra. Next, +6 extra. Pat Rayon, com/Eldok remove. PayPal, +$10 equals extra. PayPal, me/Eldok Extras by votes. 5,000/8,000. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7S. Chapter 430, The Arena 3. By Azura. By Azura. By Azura. That was an amazing fight. Marvelous. Magnificent. Legendary. Shut up. Even Mirren was fed up by the arena master. "This old man is giving me some serious déjà vu," John murmured while sitting on the side. "Ahaha. Young people, you are always low on patience. Here, here, want some juice, vitamins, cheering? Don't worry, I'll annoy you." "Wait, what?" "I won't annoy you." "Oh, no thanks. It's rude to make an old-timer work around," John said, begging for a moment of peace. "Oh, how very thoughtful. I'll go and see something to do then. Your match is in 10 minutes. As the arena master was finally away, John and Mirren let out a sigh of relief. That was close. This old man can cause mental damage more than anything I ever encountered. As the two complained, John started going through the cube, seeing the new employee he managed to kidnap and the weapons he's going to use afterward. "Hey, how did you jump in the air like that?" Mirren asked. "Jump in the air? Oh, you mean the last move?" It was not jumping or anything. I was pretending to jump." "Meaning?" "I was flying, but, the Levitation Act in the Empire forbids any spells that enable a mage to levitate. So I kind of made look like I was using some mystical martial arts." "Ha ha. God, how shrewd can one man be? Still, I haven't seen you casting a levitation spell." "Right, I was using those," John said, raising up his feet. "Those? Your feet?" "No, silly. Don't you notice anything different about my boots?" John said. "Why would I even recognize your boots, you dim-witted human?" Mirren said, putting on alt-mare air. "I can tell what you did this morning by looking at your clothes, tell what you ate by looking at your sleeves, tell where have you been by looking at your boots. By the looks of it, you ate bread with goat cheese before going for a light walk, then you got cornered by Isha judging by the dirt you couldn't dust off on your back. Wait, did you two make out in a bush again?" Mirren's mouth opened wide and didn't know what to do. "So, the boots," John said. "Right, they look like a pair of very interesting boots." Mirren tried not to remember what happened just a second ago. "Well, indeed they are. I took the ebony plating from my old boots, which carried the enchantment, and added this to these boots, which carried a similar enchantment. Linking the two enchantments together, I made a new artifact that I call Ozidal's Boots of the Apostle. Equals 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 equals. Ozidal's Boots of the Apostle, Nordic Ebony. Z-notation spot, levitation. Z-notation spot, water walking. Z-notation spot, fortify speed. Equals 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 equals. Linking enchantments. Yes, it is a thing I discovered after studying the tools of Kagranak. Sunder, Keening, and Wraithguard have a lot of enchantments on each which defies sense. A mortal have but 2 hands and can't cast more than 2 spells at a time, so the enchantment logical limit is 2. To bypass the limit, you need 2 pieces that share one similar enchantment. Link that similar enchantment, and ta-da! You have created an item with 3 enchantments of 2 items with 2 enchantments each. Sadly, overdoing things after that point causes the magic lining to break off, so I don't know how to add a 4th enchantment, but hey, neither did the Dwemer. Okay, great. That's really interesting. I understood everything. Mirren said, so while slipping away. TSK. You sad excuse of a high elf. John felt better after annoying someone for some time and got up for his next match. The spectators around the arena seemed to have increased as the noise became louder. The news of John beating down Javelin, the Minotaur, spread very fast, and people came hurling to the arena. A strong contender like John appearing means that the gambling will flourish and luck will play his game. The first match had 1/3 of the seats full, and now the half was already taken. By that constant stream of people, the odds looked promising. Still, John was already content with that many people. News will spread far and wide, just by the looks of it add to that the strong auras he felt between the spectators. Many eyes were already here, mostly mages and people invested in the arcane arts. Those people should be interested in his magic and magical artifacts. Let's give them a scare, shall we? John said while pulling out his personal magic book. The cheeky announcer kept going on and on about the next match until the teams were introduced. John, representing the blue team, will face multiple opponents at once, all trying to advance from the rank brawler to the higher rank. After being announced one by one, John's turn came last, and he walked right in as all were looking at him. The blue team has 1 combatant, the red and indigo team has 3, while the green team has 2. Who will triumph in the match? Let's find out. And with that, the match began between 9 combatants, or rather, between 8 against 1. All of them saw John as a threat after the last match. Get him first. 3 mages and 5 warriors formed a united front no matter what team they came from. This will be fun. Let's see. John's hand lit up with lightning as charged a strong spell right from the get-go. Once it was complete, John cast it around him, and the ground was lit with blinding light. By the next second, John was surrounded in a cage of lighting. A variation from Wall of Storm spell, but rather envelopes its caster from all angles. John calls it Lightning Cage, an expert-ranked spell. The warriors charging and the mages shooting magic at him were all stopped by the incredible density of the spell. If a blade tried to bypass the spell, it will shock its wielder, and spells are pretty much useless against such a high-ranked magic. Only certain arrows can pass. Conjurer Dremora, Archer. The mages decided to perform a dangerous spell together to take down John in the middle of his protective array. John wasn't really concerned. He could feel the mages mustering up their magics to do a summon, but he had his spell as well. He opened his spell book under the classification, Mysticism and the Archetype. Time. John looked a certain set of runes. In his mind, it was a fancy spell, but not too effective and very costly on Magicka. Still, it will make the mages shudder in terror. A master-ranked mysticism spell. John put his hands together for a dual casting and focused the purest Magicka from his energy center on this one. A golden light started to form between his hands. Healing? No, sun magic? A mage asked his colleague as they were blending in the crowd. No, the latter shook his head. It feels more profound. Hasty educated and uneducated guesses tried to estimate and recognize John's spell, but no one was sure. The mages in the arena were also keeping an eye on John. Interrupt him. If a strong spell got interrupted, he may injure himself. One called for the warriors. Right away, one of the warriors threw his spear towards John with all his vigor, making it bypass the lightning cage and hurl at John's shoulder, but out of John's shadow. A black mass moved on its own and swallowed the spear, then shot it back with a greater force. The warriors managed to dodge on time. That just now was Nefertiti manipulating greed to protect John, but it appeared as if John's shadow had a mind of its own and guarded its owner, rendering many confused about how it happened. We're done. The 3 mages managed to conjure 3 Dremora archers each, and John's opponent were doubled. Kill the mortal. I'll feast on your blood. You will fall. The Dremora acted like the cliché villains they are as they aimed their bows at John. On the other hand, John has just finished constructing his spell and charged it with Magicka. Now is the time for the decisive spell. The golden spell enveloped John more, and changes started to happen. In the middle of the arena, golden ghosts started to form as they moved in fast action. The action was not natural and seemed to be like they were rewinding what they were doing fast. Just now, ghosts of John fighting Jax the Minotaur appeared. They were rewound to the start of their fight, then stopped and moved to the side. The golden ghosts started to roam again, and a few more figures appeared. Those are the fighters from yesterday. A kid pointed out to the man beside him, recognizing some of the figures. Yesterday, a nearby mage heard what the kid said. Golden ghosts started to appear and be moved to the side very fast, until John formed a team of 20 golden ghosts. He smiled as he gave him a command. Just like that, the golden version of John and Jax jumped towards the Dremora archers who were dumbstruck from the scene as well. What were those? The mages behind the Dremora shuddered. The mages outside the arena were also starting to stand on their feet. A few magics had golden auras. Most notable is the healing magic and the sun magic, but most mysterious is the time magic. What John did just now was to summon ghosts from the past, or as he calls it, ghosts of time. Every one of those ghosts had the full fighting ability of the same time. It was from the time it was pulled from. The spell is completely safe, as it only pulls time records without doing any edits to the past events or the multiple timelines and realities thus possible to cast, and cannot cause a dragon break. But that was not the focal point. Just now, those time ghosts can use the same exact abilities from that time they were pulled from. Meaning, the ghost of Jax stomped forwards and stomped his hoof, creating a drumming sound, a pool of flames under his hoof. The ghost of John let out the chains from his gauntlets and pulled 2 mages in the flame pool. The other ghosts of yesterday's combatants all charged to the fight, like one shooting their special skills and their auras. A team of 8 warriors and mages wouldn't last a few seconds against such a tide. Heads were decapitated, limbs flew around, and guts spilled on the ground. A few walk out of the arena alive after being defeated, and as always, no mercy for the loser. The 8 combatants fought admirably back-to-back until the last one was raimed by Jax and RKO'd by John from midair. After that, John deactivated the spell and the lightning cage. He looked around and raised his hands up for the cheering crowd, putting on an innocent smile and a silly face. Common people responded to him by the usual cheers, and the new spectators were amazed by the magical ability, but the most concerned people were the one who found out the nature of the magic from a while ago. The spell that John used was clearly magnificent, but its major drawback was how every action the time ghost took required magicka, and pulling a good enough past record was incredibly hard. Only John knew those flaws, but others saw the potential of the spell, and it made them shudder. Nearly every place in the Imperial City had a hero walked around through it. If someone like John can conjure the powerhouses from the past or the present, then there are no secrets anymore. Chaos erupted in their minds, and John's magic was clear. Sir John Dare has trounced his foe, pounded them soundly, immersed them woe. A brawler no more, as he is a bloodler, walking with glory, declared as winner. The announcer declared as John walked out of the arena to the bloodworks, thinking what methods he should try in the coming matches. P4, Tray 0N. Goal, +4 extra. Next, +5 extra. Pat Rayon. com/Eldokmizi, remove. PayPal, +$10 equals extra. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Extras by votes, 5,000/8,000. Discord. GG/GKCKVA7S. Chapter 431. The Arena 4. Undercurrents. Don't overdo it this time, the arena master said. Seriously? John frowned. You made the other combatants afraid of you. No one in the bloodletter rank is willing to fight you at all. Bummer. John felt a bit tired. It seems that he was a bit too abnormal to face, and the magic he used scared away the fighters. In his head, John was just disappointed by those third-rate fighters who were so scared for their lives. The reason behind that is mostly because his strength has surpassed the human limit, and he no longer thinks based on those standards anymore. Also, the Nords are hardy people and wouldn't back away no matter the odds, so he just wasn't used to it. So can't we just skip ranks? John asked. Your contract is to advance each rank by a special rule match, which means you have to fight through each and every rank. The arena master refused. Fine, I have a good idea. Add a rule to those special rules we agreed on. My opponents have the right to disable the deathmatch term in the coming fights. Wait, you're saying whoever afraid of me can be content that I won't kill them. Victory by knockout or submission will make them not fear me anymore. John said, but the people, they expect to see blood. No, they've paid for it. Well, it either that or we wait for an opponent to appear, which seems to be not going to happen anytime soon. Don't worry. If you're going to introduce the masses to an idea against what they want, then present it in a righteous and noble appearance with classy words. Sugarcoat it with a beautiful woman announcing it. John said, Gods, who are you? Mirren swore from the side. Former head of a corporate entity, a successful politician, a businessman, an inventor, and a very rich guy. I am basically the villain. Makes sense. The ranks of the arena start with pit dog, then brawler, bloodler, myrmidon, warrior, gladiator, hero, champion, and grand champion. According to John's contract with the arena, he is to fight one special rules match that can advance him to the next rank in one go. As a death ground, there is no insurance that anyone can come out of the arena alive, and that included John himself. If he got killed, then that's it. John wasn't worried even if he ran into someone as strong as him. Faking his own death will even be more of a fortunate occasion, but he has his own pride to maintain, and if his death was announced, Winterhold will be a target for vengeance. Still, the arena was the best method he found to make a big scene and attract all his pursuers to the Empire rather than Skyrim or whatever his next destination may be. Also, he needs to keep reminding those politicians and powerhouses that even if they are capable of taking him down, they will have to make a sacrifice they can't afford in doing so. They understood that, but there was just one thing they didn't like. John was too arrogant. Many figures all over the arena, and even outside, it were having a secret conversation through a large telepathic network. He comes into our city and spread his wings. Should we handle that? He is reckless indeed. Not bad for a talent, but his temperament are nasty for a Nord. Not bad. The boy is a monster, and they're more than what he just did. That spellbook of his, I want to see what secrets he still holds. He showed it on purpose to attract people like you. You will be playing his game if you do anything reckless. Sigh, if only a talent like him appeared in our arcane college. The Imperial Court and the Elder Council would have put many resources solely for him. Shouldn't we rope him in by that offer? After what happened in Winterhold and us letting those 10 elves do their things, I don't think the boy will tolerate us anymore. Is he an enemy then? Not really. An enemy of our enemies can be our friend. I remember it was a Redguard warlord who said that once before his allies turning on him. You're missing my point, old man. All of you. We need to learn from the past experiences with him. He is reckless, yet always have a hidden card. He never played without having the upper hand. The reports on his personality suggest that he is unstable, yet very able to control himself and manipulate others. Also, the daughter of Duke Vici is in his pocket, which means he has the support of a large faction in the East Empire Company. It seems his wonder penis is causing us trouble. Please don't put it that way. This one thinks you are all overthinking it. John Dare may be a problem, but it is not ours as long as we ignore him. Let this one remind you who is his backing again. We don't want to infuriate the Telvanni, Winterhold, or Shad Ashula. So we should just accept a new player. This one doesn't see a problem. John Dare is interesting and hostile to the Thalmor. Let them keep each other in check while we keep an eye on things that matters. How is that prophecy? Prophecy? Oh, that one. The astronomers are having a bad time with it. They say the serpent will appear a few weeks from now, based on the motion of the stars. Then we need to hurry. A red ship and a broken star. Something is at play here, and we need to know what. John advanced to the arena and fought 4 matches based on the new special rule that stated that his opponent can decide whether or not it can be a death match. From that point, many people made up their minds to challenge him. The following matches allowed John to pick up a few moves from his opponents as he fought barehanded. According to what he understood from his group's daily conversations on martial arts, there are 3 classifications to the overall styles in Tamriel. The heavy styles that rely on brute strength and physical durability, the swift styles that rely on graceful movements and multiple hits, and the accurate styles that rely on precise attacks and fast executions. Hybrid styles exist, but the pure martial artists are mostly headstrong to a certain classification. John's style is clearly hybrid, as he has brute strength, swift combos, and scary accuracy. Thanks to what he comprehended, his ability to analyze his opponents evolved, and he became obsessed with breaking down his opponent's styles before finishing them. That wasn't all. He even met opponents with high control over the aura on the 6th match. As an art with a close relation to martial arts, the aura fortifies each style even more in power, speed, and accuracy. The right type of aura with the right attack can create a fascinating skill, such as the flying claws launched by the Khajiit he fought, and the Breton who launched a sword beam that really surprised him. As the 6th match was over, the announcer declared John's advance to the hero rank. Somehow, it was a cringe-worthy rank, as John hated its name. As a hero, he can finally challenge the champions. From that point on, the arena master decided to remove the term that John added about not killing the opponents, and the death matches finally returned. The people were a bit in an uproar regarding the rule of safety, but thanks to John's idea, the arena master invited Vittoria Vici, who is hosting a big part of today's events, to announce the rule. As John said, the masses were mostly controlled, but only temporary. When other nobles started to flood the VIP area, it was clear that the death matches had to return. Now, the arena was mostly full, and the arena servants were doing their best to manage the large crowd. Also, a certain man was finally attracted to the show. The current grand champion, Darius. He was sitting in a special area under the arena seats and watched the matches while being hidden in the shadows. He wasn't restless or relaxed, but rather very focused. John's style was clearly strange, but had a rhyme to it. As soon as Darius can catch the rhyme, he will be able to play John to his demise. Are you sure? A voice came from behind him. TSK. That's one nerve you have coming down here, woman. Darius replied sharply to the one in the shadow. A woman with a destructive body outline appeared in the shadow. Sorry about that. I wasn't really interested in coming here, but I wanted to offer you something. Not interested. There's a million septims on that boy's head. Not interested. Should I go and bring one of my male associates to negotiate with you? As you, not interested. The woman was mostly unfazed by Darius's cold shoulder, but that didn't stop her. She started to look at the arena and narrowed her eyes. His style, how do I say this? It is one of a kind. Go on. Darius was finally patient enough to listen. What am I interested in is his body. Of course, getting it means we need him dead, which is your part, but to do so, you need to understand what you are dealing with, right? Why are you interested in his body? Darius asked. HM? Not much, some hobbies here and there. Unfortunately for me and for my associates, one of our suppliers in Morrowind was destroyed by a rogue Tong organization and some low-life mercenaries. If the Imperial Arena is not our stable source, then life would have been hard on us. But I was wondering, Darius cut her words, why are you people interested in beating up corpses? If you have some sick necrophilia cult, why not just look for bodies in more decent places? Darius asked. We don't pay you and your red team to ask questions, Dar, the woman said, but soon her words came to a halt. Darius's large axe was just 1 inch away from claiming her head. The terror that Darius's carnage aura gave off almost squeezed her heart from the terror. Don't run your mouth, woman, he said in a tone that oppressed the woman to submission. She nodded with fear visible in her eyes. As he took his axe away, she touched her neck, unintentionally feeling it in place. I don't care what you want with the bodies. Tell that leader of yours to not do anything stupid while I fight. Now leave." Darius wasn't in the mood to talk anymore. The woman looked at Darius and decided to finish up what she came here for. "One last thing. These are some magic scrolls." She took out almost 10 magic scrolls from high quality as they looked. "I said I don't want petty things like," Darius said, but the woman cut him. "I'm not sure how you fight, but the Lord recommended them for you. They are to test the boy's ability. Nothing will interfere with your fight as long as we get our data and you get a grasp on his skills. I get that the boy will be fighting the champions next, right?" she said in a serious tone. She then offered the scrolls for him. "Let them champions test him out for you," she said. Darius looked at the woman and then the scrolls. She was right. John's style is very obscure and fluid. His movements are simple and deadly while his magic is not easy to deal with. Darius took them with a snort and returned to focus on his fighting mentality once again. The woman sighed and walked out of the secret observing room and took the corridor under the arena out to the seats. On the way, she got rid of her cloak and hood, then walked out with no one spotting her. What appeared under the light of day was a red-guard woman with a pleasant look. She walked and found herself a seat. "Delilah," a voice whispered from her side. "What is it?" "She is here," the voice said. "She? Look, the opposite seats, 3rd row, 7th from the right." The man beside her handed her a small spyglass. The red-guard woman, or rather, Delilah, scanned across the opposite seats until her eyes landed on someone. A red-guard woman with broad shoulders and long brown hair in a red-guard garment with a hippie sense of accessories. Delilah's eyes opened wide. "What is she doing here?" she asked carefully without taking her eyes off. "No idea. I guess she is traveling," the one beside her said. "Her direction? No one knows. Last time we lost her in Skyrim when those people were onto us. Rumors about her came from Morrowind, but our agent said she is moving a lot and keeps a low profile. We thought she was onto something, but if she showed up openly here, then we were wrong. We assume she is returning home." "Too soon," Delilah said. "If the wish was found out this early, everything will crumble. What do you think we should do? We can't be reckless. Send a messenger to Hammerfell and keep an eye on the girl. This girl can end everything we worked for. Damn it. Those useless bastards. We don't have any good information network on Skyrim, and look at the mess we're in." Delilah said while standing up and foaming from anger. She looked back at the woman again. "It has been a long, long while. Isha. P4 tray 0N. Goal. +4 extra. Next. +5 extra. Pat Rayon. com/Eldokmizi. Remove. PayPal. +$10 equals extra. PayPal. me/Eldokmizi. Extras by votes. 5,000/8,000. Discord. GG/GKCKVA7S. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Chapter 432. The Arena 5-6. Spamming Master Rank Spells. Daily +5K bonus. Part 1. The champion of the Indigo team, the champion of the Green team, the champion of the Red team, and the only hero of the Blue team are going to fight for the right of challenging the Grand Champion. Kids were running on the streets announcing the news all across the Imperial City, and surely it was a shocking even. Somehow, someone appeared and challenged the special rules matches all the way up the ranking to become a Blue team hero all in a single day without rest. If this man was a dwarven automaton or some sort of undead, then people would have believed it, but he was a Northman from Skyrim. For such a monster to appear, surely things got noisy around the city, and the undercurrents were stirred all around the Imperial City. The man in the center of the event stood tall in the center of the arena. Other 3 men stood by the other 3 gates, and the tension was clear. Representing the Blue team, John was a warrior and a mage with many abilities and hidden cards. Representing the Red team, an Imperial man from Darius's entourage wore a fully enchanted heavy arena gear with a greatsword in hand. Representing the green team was a red guard carrying 2 blades and 5 staves on his back. Representing the indigo team was a high elf with a staff and a sword. The arena surely housed various styles of combatants. Each one of those 4 was a formidable warrior strong enough to threaten the place of the grand champion. Just by John's actions, the other 3 were finally called out to a full-on fight. The arena had to give 2 hours of rest between this match and the one before it just to let the news travel around the city. It also was the last match for today. The tension rose up between the 4 to a scary degree. The 3 humans were giving off their strong auras while the elf was energizing himself with magicka. John's tyrant aura was superior to any aura in the advanced stage. A basic stage aura in this kind of fight will only cause its owner to be killed first, and a manifested stage aura is the only thing that can suppress those 4 monsters that are about to fight. The nobles were already patient enough to wait until the arena became full and started shouting at the announcer to hurry up and start the match. It was then when Vittoria gave her consent to start the match. By the order of Fair Lady Vittoria Vici, let the fight be. Boom. Cheer. Gin. The 4 combatant let loose just as the announcer was at it. For different attacks flew in different directions, causing a loud explosion to echo around. The green champion was the first to retreat from the fray as he took 2 staves and stuck them to the ground, creating a safe zone for himself. John appeared next with greed in his hand in a gun form. The red and indigo champions appeared later with strange expressions on their faces. In that loud bang from a while ago, the 4 clashed, but somehow it resulted in a state of confusion and for a cloud of dust to rise all of a sudden. No one except for a certain few could tell what just happened. John narrowed his eyes as he looked at the champion of the green team, who looked relaxed. That red guard was surely very fast to retreat. The other 2 looked at John with hostility, understanding that John was onto their trick just a while ago and slipped from their prepared attack, even though they felt that they hit him. Phew, a close one. John sighed in his heart. The champions are on a whole new level. If the green champion joined the assault on him just a while ago, John wouldn't have slipped without a scratch, but thankfully the red guard was extra careful. The 4 looked at one another, trying to assess the situation once again. The red and the indigo champions seemed familiar with one another's style, but the green champion seemed wary of them. He was a tad weaker than them, so if John got eliminated, he'd be the next in line. Still, he was more wary of John. At a moment of understanding, the 3 champions decided to gang up on John. Now, the indigo champion fired a strong lightning spell. The red champion shot a bolt from a crossbow under his arm, and the green champion waved his swords in 2 aura attacks that flew at John. Insolence! John snorted in disdain. From his shadow, Nefertiti threw out pride that soon found its way to the hand of its master. John waved it, and strange spell formed in one move. Space Ward. The spell formed a ward in front of John, intercepting all the attack and fully reflecting them at the attackers without losing any momentum. Those who saw the spell could see the twist in space as the red champion's bolt got twisted and full reflected like a charm. The same happened to the lightning spell and the aura blades. In a mere second, the attacks that were reflected caused their masters to cancel them or dodge. Amazing! That's a genius for you. On the seats, many mages praised John's spell that reflected the space itself. He showed a time spell this morning, and now a space spell of such caliber. This was surely him going all out. In the arena, the 4 assessed the weird situation again. John rather smirked and shot a scatterbolt spell at the indigo champion, attacking him from multiple sides at once. The indigo champion hurriedly cast a reflect barrier, sending the spell at the red champion. The latter didn't dally and sped behind the green champion, leading the attack at him. The green champion added 1 more staff behind him and formed a triangular safe zone that fully absorbed the spell. The red champion took the chance and attacked the green champion from behind, but the sly red guard teleported himself with the safe zone away. Coward, the red cursed. With a head decorating my shoulders, The green didn't feel ashamed one bit. The red champion didn't stop his charge and directed his attack towards the nearest target, John. His greatsword radiated in a swift fire aura and attacked John from above. John waved the gun Greed with its large double muzzles and shot 2 aura bolts at the sword, fully nullifying its power. What? The red champion couldn't figure out how his aura broke easily and chose to retreat. John didn't think too much and changed Greed into a large flail that crashed the red champion away. From the seats, Isha and Miranda were taken aback by the principle of John's aura attack that nullified the blade. Did you see? Isn't that the martial trinity idealism? Isha asked. MHM. John stopped the edge force with the blunt force. A perfect counter. Miranda analyzed. I've never seen it done with a battle spirit before. If you can do that, John is using his strange tools to fully control his aura. On the arena, John was giving a chase to the red champion and gaining a lot of momentum while the green and the indigo champions were fighting it out. Hearing the loud cheers of the public, the green and the indigo felt wary if John managed to eliminate the red this soon. On him, the two hurriedly locked on John and supported the red champion back to retreat. Taste your own poison. The indigo shot a similar spell to Scatterbolt, but on a whole new level. The spell rose to the sky and descended in a series of bolts. Tisk! John had to dodge this one, as lightning spells were the most dangerous to him. He teleported away with Blink, but the spell adjusted its flow towards him. John kept blinking everywhere, with the indigo champion not giving him a chance to counter. The red and the green looked at each other without engaging in battle, then decided to gang up on John. It was very clear how dangerous John is. Keep him occupied, the red said, taking out a scroll. The other two understood the gist of the situation and cornered John even further. The indigo champion kept his lightning spell, making John dodge everywhere, and the green champion lurked down waiting for an opportunity. Over there, the indigo champion predicted where John shall appear next and pointed. The green champion shot up from his protection formation like an arrow with his blades dancing from one side, carving through the air as John appeared where they are slashing. Shit! John was fully cornered this time. The attacks from his left by 2 blades were manageable, but the lightning spell from the right was troublesome. John took his chances and formed Greed into a shield blocking one of the blades while the other grazed in John's arm. By his right, he cast a spell using Pride, barely negating Elf's spell. It has been a long time ever since he was wounded in a fight. Last times was in Castle Fokihar when he pissed off Lord Harkon, and after it in Cold Harbor when he fought the Daedric Titan. John was about to unleash his aura wildly and fling the two away, but a ridiculous amount of magicka was felt in the arena. John and the other two looked up to see a gigantic flaming palm coming down from the sky. Fuck! John looked up with wide eyes, understanding that this spell was cast using a scroll, but that was not the point. It was a master rank spell. Panic! The crowd around the arena screamed in shock, and the old ones covered the children. The scene of the large palm in the sky was akin to a Daedra breaking the void and reaching its hand in Nirn. Protect the citizens. A mage from the Arcane Academy stood up among the crowd and cast a large ward. Other mages followed after him and unified their wards into a single large barrier. On the arena, the indigo and the green retreated away from John, who was looking up at the sky, fascinated by the beauty of the spell. You people are nuts, and I love it, he said while aiming Pride up. Pride, I know you like being watched and seeing how mighty you are. Now, this is the biggest arena on Tamriel, and it is packed with people. I think I don't need to tell you what to do. As John spoke to Pride, the staff reacted and enlarged. It changed from its appearance as a cane to a large staff as tall as John and absorbed a lot of magicka from the surrounding. John has noticed this strange power in Pride some time ago. A staff that gets more powerful in the center of attention is surely worthy of the name Pride. Using the image in John's mind, Pride countered the gigantic fiery palm coming from the sky with another gigantic fiery palm with the same size. High five! John couldn't help but shout out loud. Part 2. Two gigantic fire palms met in the air, and the hearts should to the immense power of Magicka released from the two. A wave of Magicka was what felled it first. A wave of heat followed, making people sweat, as if it was Alakar. A wave of explosion followed, consuming the space above the arena and barely nearing the ward protecting the crowd. John cast another spell by Pride as soon as he could, and the enlarging explosion started being sucked down in Pride's sigil stone and its Magicka getting naturalized at a scary pace. Shadow magic. One of the master wizards around the arena was shocked senseless. As the old man said, John was indeed using the rare shadow magic by understanding its principle and using it by imagination through Pride. Only the shadow magic can naturalize Magicka like that. In mere seconds, John copied a master rank spell and naturalized the effect of two master rank spells. A scary feat that would deplete the Magicka of the best mages around. John indeed was chugging on a Magicka regeneration potion by his free hand. The three champions in front of him were fully taken aback by the power of a single man. They were not beyond him in terms of caliber, and the Indigo champion had even better control than John to force him into a desperate state of dodging magic. But now, just now, the High Elf Indigo champion was completely beaten in terms of Magicka capacity. John was insanely boundless. Even the graze on his left arm left by the Redgar Green champion was already gone, revealing how much vitality John has. Won the world. The Imperial Red champion was utterly frightened. The Indigo champion realized that the situation is hopeless unless they drain out John completely. John is young, and no matter how many years he trained or how much talent he has, he is still a junior with some parts rough around the edges, especially in terms of control. A high elf like the Indigo champion is superior in this field, no argue about that. Still, John can compete by using his Magicka as a brute raw force to stand against masters. It is like a child with a machine gun that has infinite bullets against a trained adult with a 6 bullets handgun. Still, that child was no pushover. I didn't really want to use this. The Indigo champion forked out a scroll, one of those that were given to him by the Grand Champion just before the match. John saw the scroll and panicked. He shot a fast spell, but the Green Champion activated his protection array around himself and the Indigo champion. Shameless, John cursed. Hurry, the Green shouted. Another master rank scroll was opened. The Indigo champion grinned as he recited the spell's name. Dragon Breath. As he said, the scroll was torn on his staff, and the High Elf launched a gigantic stream of flame towards John. The flame was large and domineering, much like a real dragon breath. The spell was clearly inspired after witnessing a real dragon. You've got to be shitting me. John clenched his teeth and put Pride forward. Imitate. John did the same move as he did last time and used Pride to hurriedly return similar spell. The shadow magic may come in handy, but sadly it couldn't endure such a large stream of a stable source of Magicka. Two dragon breeds clashed in magic duel. The Red Champion and the Green Champion were forced to retreat away from the heat. Break for me, the Indigo Champion shouted. Piss off. John was in a foul mood facing such a heat despite being a fire main. The High Elf Indigo Champion was faced with John's brute Magicka, but indeed his control was more profound than John, yet soon after John was adjusting his control as if he was learning from the elf on the spot. Fuck, you're a monster. The refined attitude of Altmare was already blown away as the Indigo Champion cursed. I was told I'll hear that word a lot. John replied by extending his head to the side. Bastard. The Indigo Champion was infuriated by John's attitude and decided to put on one more card. There was a very good reason why the High Elves are the first race in terms of Magicka, and that was their racial power. Bless me, ancestors, the Indigo Champion called. The Magicka around him reacted to his roar and an abundant amount of energy flowed through his body. The brute magicka of John was finally overpowered by the High Elves' racial ability, Highborn, an insane ability that can regenerate magicka on the rapid rate of 2,500% for a whole minute. The people of the crowd that weren't experts in magic or magicka could swear they can feel the energy flowing around the arena around the Indigo champion as John was being cornered rapidly. Those who bet against John were cheering and shouting while John's friends were holding their hearts and shaking in fear. Ha ha, this is good. This is so good. I love it. John's voice shook the arena left and right. People could still feel the liveliness in that voice. Allmaker, John roared once again, activating the blessing of the Allmaker, root of power, an ability identical to Highborn. After being oppressed by the Indigo champion in the last exchange, John made a real comeback with a perfect counter of 2,500% magicka regeneration for a whole minute too. Wait. The Indigo champion felt the sensation around John vividly. The feeling akin to him carrying a mountain with the face of John Dare smiling over him appeared in his mind. It was a gloomy image with death lurking around his neck despite him being empowered. John's brute magicka, supporting by the insane regeneration ability, was physically pushing the Indigo champion back. The High Elf was gritting his teeth and bleeding from his ears to endure, but nothing was working against true power. In the end, the spell broke from him, and at the same time, John's imitation spell broke. The two dragon breeds were concluded on the defeat of the High Elf and the victory of the Nord in a raw magical exchange. The arena ground between them was charred black, and some parts were already molten. The red and the green champions managed to protect themselves and the Indigo from the last aftershock as the magic duel broke in John's favor. The red champion formed a barrier by his aura and endured the shock by stabbing his sword to the ground, while the green champion used 4 staves to form a protection array around himself. Don't give him time to rest. Use more. The Indigo champion shouted, even in his sorry state. Not a chance. John roared and looked at the High Elf. You made a good dragon breath spell just now, but take this real dragon breath as a goodbye. Wywell Torshul, Fire Inferno Sun. John launched a real dragon breath at the Altmare with the Thursday making the man grow pale with fear. The red champion realized that John is shouting and ran from range while the green champion teleported away with his protection array. Without any resistance, the fire breath shout passed on the Indigo champion, blasting him away. The red and the green champions were wary of John's Thursday but that power just now was insane. Lucky for them, they got to hear the voice and dodged as fast as they could. Give him everything. The two were now on the brink of panic. 2 master rank scrolls were taken out by the two. You got to be kidding me. Even I'm not that wasteful. John was maddened when he sensed the other 2 magics and prepared for the worst, ready to take out his best artifacts and scrolls, but luck played its game with him. Spectral Warband. Cast the red champion. Mind Demon. Cast the green champion. John was well aware of those spells. Spectral Warband is a spell that summons a band of spectral soldiers to fight for the caster, a master rank illusion. Mind Demon was also another master rank illusion spell that relied too much on imagination by creating a visible imagination that attacks the mind of the enemy. You're dead. Charge. Get a Mind Demon. In front of John, the red champion has almost 200 spectral soldiers, while the green champion created a large hound by illusion that looked down on John as if it is going to swallow him whole. John's eyes widened with rage. His soul was screaming from the inside to the sight of that oversized puppy. Damn you, puppy lovers. Show those heathens your brilliance. Cleanse their sinful souls by your peerless beauty and deliver upon them the judgment of the holy cat. Nefertiti, I choose you. John performed a false ritual announcing the arrival of the one. As he did so, he joined his hands together and Nefertiti appeared on them. Home and lame, she said softly so no one can hear her. Sorry, but can you deal with one of them? Nefertiti may hate attention, but she wouldn't back down in a fight. She jumped from John's hands and walked towards the red champion. Fine, I'll take on the puppy lover then. John looked at the green champion and squeezed his fists. The onlookers may suspect that John became mad releasing a cat in the arena after such a dramatic speech. The cat was cute and all, but why is it enlarging? Nefertiti entered her beast form, enlarging to the size of tiger. At this time, no one could see her as an ordinary cat at all. It is that, the beast companion of John Dare. One of the mages knowledgeable about John's reports said, "Impossible. That is the infamous beast? The thing that was just a small cat a while ago. By the eight, what manner of beast is that?" Nefertiti wasn't bothered with attention after a while, but the problem was John, who was cheering for her in a fervent speech. Those who know John Nefertiti can tell that it was the scene of a doting parent and a teenage child who wants her parent to quit embarrassing her. A year ago, Nefertiti would be hyped up by John's speech just like a child taking praises. She sighed and inwardly called, "Allmaker." The gift of the Allmaker to Nefertiti was the strongest in terms of offense in 6 blessings, totem beasts. Just like that, Nefertiti managed to summon some oversized golden spectral beasts that radiated around her. Large bears, saber cats, a mammoth, and a couple of hawks. The spectral warband was to clash with the totem beasts. On the other side, John aiming his staff at the mind demon, a spell that uses imagination as power, was put to the test against Pride, the elder staff of power and fate whose power is imagination magic. "Get them," Nefertiti calmly whispered. "Imitate." John cast the same skill once again, creating his own mind demon. As the spectral warband and the totem beasts clashed in a numbers fight, John had a large cat over his head facing the large hound. The green champion was a battle mage and an extremely well-versed individual in the arcane arts. He wouldn't fall short against John, but the vivid imagination is John's thing. The two imaginations floating above the two fighters were different in color, as blue for John and green for the green champion. The hound hurled towards the cat, which dodged it from the side and mowed on its neck, digging its claws and fangs at its body. "Ark!" The green champion groaned from the pain. Mind demons had that effect. The imagination and the caster's body are connected. The hound hurriedly turned into a large spider that squeezed its 8 legs at the cat and opened its mouth to swallow the cat. John felt the pain gripping his body, but turned the cat into a snake and made it bite one of the spider's arms and twine its body around the leg, snapping it in multiple locations. The green champion gripped his arm in pain, feeling his bones breaking. The spider seemed to be disadvantageous against the fluid like a snake, so it was turned to the thing which the green champion was familiar with the most, a warrior with his image holding 2 blades. The warrior was about to slash the snake, but barely grazed it. The snake turned into the image of John wielding a spear. During this wondrous holographic exchange, the people were not sure if they should focus on the exchange of the 2 mind demons or the spectral battle. Nefertiti's beasts dominated the battle, but the red champion's soldiers were many and kept increasing. Nefertiti was forced to summon Shadow Atronax to sneak attack the red champion and his army. With each move, the crowd cheered by the one-of-a-kind fight. Master rank spells and insane moves were being used all over this fight. Even the arena master was having a heart attack from excitement, but his adoring soul kept him running. The thing with John is that his imagination started to get wilder. The green champion was no longer a match for what started to happen after a certain point. He turned his mind demon into a gigantic beetle assassin, but was split into half by John's dwarven centurion. It was then an Argonian behemoth that almost carried the dwarven centurion, but John turned his imagination into a heavy panzer, something that the world didn't see anything like. Unaware of the disaster, the green champion let his behemoth receive a cannon shot head-on. The green champion fell on his knees and spat out blood. His appearance was ashen pale, and he couldn't break free from his own mind demon. John wasn't merciful and formed all manners of attacks at the deforming imagination of the green champion. In a matter of a few seconds, The green champion was broken spirit and soul. His magic ended, and so did John's imagination. Now all that is left was the red champion. Dying. John could see the red champion taking out another scroll and tearing it, then cast another gigantic fire palm at Nefertiti to take down her totem beasts and sacrifice his spectral warband in the process. Nefertiti returned to the shadow and escaped back to John. He braced himself for impact as the fire palm devastated a part of the arena away from him. "Thank you. You did well," John said. "Curse cat. Damn you." The red champion was infuriated for some reason. Looking at his legs and back, Nefertiti seemed to have scratched the living out of him. "Nord, damn you." Without thinking, the red champion was on the edge of despair as he ran out of stamina and allies. All he could do now is to spam out the master rank scrolls left with him. One scroll was torn, and one more gigantic fire palm descended on John from the sky. John was more observant this time. An attack of such power is better dealt with more smart and less brute. John aimed, pried, and shot a few shadow bolts at some key parts in the spell, making it explode in the air. Die! But the red champion was already her. John had no option in his hand but to block with greed, yet he noticed something. The damn red champion was casting another master rank scroll on a close quarter. "Damn you!" John almost panicked as he prepared towards with all his power, but the scroll was aimed at the red champion's greatsword, which was held high. John recognized the spell, Hypermagnitude, an alteration master rank spell that can basically enlarge objects and increase their weight to tons. If that spell was put to the sword while it is this close to John, then fuck me dead. John had to do something about that. To stop a power beyond his physical ability, only one artifact can do such feat. The hammer from the tools of Kagranak, the tools he used to attain demigod powers in the Battle of Winterhold. But in public like that, he can tell that many are waiting for that artifact's appearance. But he had no choice, or rather, he can have a choice. Greed, possess Sunder. P4 tray 0N. Goal, +4 extra. Next, +5 extra. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi, remove. PayPal, +$10 equals extra. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Extras by votes, 5,000/8,000. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7S. Twitter @Eldokmizi22. Chapter 433, Conclusion and Planning. I am sorry for being lazy these days, as I'm still researching about Hammerfell and other places. The Imperial City filler will soon end, and the journey will continue. Greed, possess Sunder. Equals 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 equals. Giant Sunder. Elemental damage. Soul damage. Weight control. Equals 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 equals. This was the answer to the current situation. A blade under the effect of hypermagnitude is something that can cleave through a small mountain. Only the other form of Sunder can create a difference against such a thing. Greed is a shadow ether exclusive to John. An ether is a substance in the forms of both matter and energy at the same time. The shadow ether can eat anything related to the shadow element and absorb its abilities. Ever since Greed has eaten the sword Shadowrend in Eastmarch, it became able to reform all enchanted tools into a different form by possessing it. John was obsessed with trying all the second forms for every artifact he comes across, but the ones that left an impression on him the most were the tools of Kagranak. The dagger, Keening, would turn into a hidden blade. The single gauntlet, Wraithgord, would turn into a ringmail armor known as Wraithmail. The lore has it that Wraithgord's true form is a ringmail of 1,000 rings when it was used during the Battle of the Red Mountain 1, E700 by Adder and Sol. The hammer Sunder, however, would turn into a magnificent, oversized hammer capable of obliterating all in its wake. That giant sunder was now being pulled out of John's shadow to strike the coming enlarged blade. John utilized the added feature of weight control to swing the hammer at almost weightless and turn the weight into tons on contact. Clang, and the loudest clash of metals ever heard in maybe history sounded. The hyper-magnitude sword was shattered on contact with the gigantic sunder. The hammer broke through the blade, leaving only fragments to fall on the ground. The blade's tip was fixed deep in the ground, and the handle along with the Red Champion's arms were badly obliterated. The Red Champion was merely a few meters away, coughing out blood in his last moments. John walked to him and looked down on the dying man. Kill, 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 kill. The crowd didn't stop cheering from that point onwards, wanted to see more blood and gore. John unintentionally became annoyed by them. Monster, the dying Red Champion said, coughing out more blood. Like I care. John simply threw the giant sunder on the Red Champion, turning him into meat paste. Fair ladies and noble gents, we present to you the winner, the Blue Champion, John Dare. Glory to the win. Wait, what is that? As the announcer declared, a change in the situation happened so fast. From 5 directions, 5 shadows jumped from the crowd area and charged at John in an instant. Now, take his life. Retrieve that hammer. We brothers will do it. 5th brother, blind him. Here I go. From the arena's seats, many mages were observing John with great focus. Some of them were interested in the man, known to hoard many treasures, and some were after certain ones. Despite the change in its appearance, the giant sunder gave off the same mystic energy recorded about the tools of Kagranak as artifacts enchanted by the tonal engineering magic. Those 5 mages recognized it in an instant. Their vicious attack was timely planned when John is victorious and exhausted. Their power and speed were buffed with all manners of preparation for an ultimate assault with all kinds of spells and trap formations. On one hand, the arena was barely realizing what happened. On another, the other mages were having all sorts of reactions to the 5 who either got the lead on John or acted too wildly. But on a completely third hand, John was yawning. Sure enough, their 5 were no pushovers and prepared for John. An attack of which they were prepared was precisely made to bring down foes of John caliber, but too slow. Those 5 who moved in a speed normal people can't react to made John less interested in them. You can give a computer to a monkey, but don't expect a monkey to magically turn into some genius. Those 5 were monkeys with some good tools on them. As the 5 monkeys were performing their tight attack on John, a chain from John's gauntlet flew to the giant sunder, pulling it back to John. The hammer was now back to John's hands. Swing, swing, swoosh, clang, swoosh. John waved the giant sunder, 5 times pushing its elemental damage enchantment to the shock damage effect. Once the hammer came into contact with the 5 foes, they disappeared in their places. John's movement stopped afterward, and he looked around curiously. It disappeared? Wow, even the thieves in the Imperial City are a challenge. I won anyway. John declared with a clumsy smile and raised the hammer sky high for the crowd. Thousands of cheers answered him with a legion of fans cheering his names. John walked out of the arena victorious. The arena master came up and announced that the Grand Champions match will be held tomorrow, as the arena needs preparations and repairs, and so the day was concluded. As the people emptied the place, some did not budge from their seats. These were the high mages and the great warriors who had a lot of interest in John. Some were even ones planning to make a move on him, and some were there for his magic. Now, those people had one thing in mind that made them freeze with chills holding them from their spines. Those last 5 swings, they were not what they seemed like. People may have thought that the 5 mages managed to escape after an attempt on John, but that couldn't be more wrong. They were right there, still on the arena, lying in dust. The hammer swings that John performed carried the shock damage effect, but not for the sake of dealing damage. Rather, it was for the sake of the disintegration effect. John's swings didn't even leave a corpse behind, just like what happened with that Minotaur from the first match. The lightning element itself wouldn't cause matter to disintegrate, but rather would leave a nasty blast or start a fire. But those who are adept with lightning can use electrolysis to completely break down any matter into a fine dust. This is how John broke a fort's wall by his lightning magic. Those 5 were now, beyond recognition, scattered all across the arena. If someone wanted to blame John for killing 5 known mages or to open a formal investigation, then good luck finding the corpses. John himself made a dumb face to shift any responsibility away. He was not to blame, but that power was horrifying. Now the match of tomorrow would be more interesting than ever. Darius versus John. 2 overbearing individuals with an aptitude for slaughter and killing. John is a person who achieved the rank of the champion in one day, and Darius is a person who is the grand champion for years. If John used the tools of Kagranak tomorrow, then Darius may be on the short side. If John wanted to prolong the fight, then the 2 men will have a grand fight of equal powers. Darius has strong artifacts too, and most notably the Raiment of Valor, the Decimating Axe, and the Blood Chariot alongside various techniques and magic spells and blessings of certain Deidre. Just what does tomorrow hold for the Imperial City? In the Vici Villa, some maids were coming and going over a certain man. They screamed and sweat from the effort they had to put in for dealing with such an individual. "That's impossible, my lady. We need more maids," the head maid said to Vittoria, who was standing on the door with a solemn look. John is really impressive. This number of girls can do anything to him. She thought for a while and sighed inwardly. John being this hard and stiff was not a usual occurrence. "Fine, clear the room. I should have known from the beginning normal girls can't do anything to him anyway." "Yes, my lady. Girls, back to your work." The head maid led the girls out, and Vittoria closed the door on her and John. "You really overdid yourself this time," she said. "Sorry about that. It really hurts being this stiff," John said with an apologetic face. She sat on the bed beside him, and as he was sleeping on his front with his back being exposed, his muscles were twitching hard, and all the maids in the Vici Villa were not strong enough to massage him. "Will you be okay?" she asked. "I will. It is just that I get very stiff after my body cools down after a big fight." It wasn't a problem back home when I was with Alina and Joel. They too have miraculous skills when it comes to breaking my stiffness on all fronts. "What about the Altmare girl? Miranda?" "No, her fingers hurt. Due to her nature as an archer and practitioner of a martial art known as the Desert Wind Claws, Miranda's fingers were really strong that massaging John would turn into another round of pain. That's why she was depressed in her room, as she was not able to help John. Don't worry. Let's spend the night together, and your stiffness up and down will go away," Vittoria said as she undid her dress that fell down from her shoulder, exposing everything all the way down. John smiled and turned around, giving her space to lay down beside him. The Imperial girl happily went beside him and stuck her body happily. "Sometimes I forget that I'm older than you just by comparing our size," she said. "For a woman, you're pretty comfortable with your age. Still, do I look like a brat teenager to you?" "Oh, please. Forget I said anything. I'm just happy you're here." "Okay." John's, whose mental age is in a state of dispute, decided to just enjoy the girl in his hands. "By the way, do you live alone in this villa? I mean, your family is big and all." "Scared of my family now?" she said. "No, my father is too old, so he doesn't come here and stay our estate in the west. Mother is in Skyrim dealing with the company in Skyrim, and my brothers are ambassadors to High Rock and Hammerfell. This place is mostly mine." And so the noble girl joined the cult of Debella among the bards, performers, and comedians. "You get the story," she said and looked up. "The Imperial Palace has sent an agent an hour ago." "Wow, I even got the Emperor attention?" "Clearly. My cousin the Emperor wants you out of Cyrodiil," she said. John narrowed his eyes. "Want me out?" he asked. "The Imperial Palace thinks you are seeking asylum here from the Thalmor after you. Counselor Amon Modier came personally and delivered a verbal message," she said. Amon Modier? John froze for a second. The name was very familiar, and the man was an important NPC in TS5, Skyrim, but to think he would come across the name this early. You know him? Vittoria asked. Only heard the name once during a secret report. John said. Makes sense. He is the Emperor's dog. Truth be told, he is quite fond of the title himself. The Emperor's dog? John found it funny, judging by Amon's role in the future. The left counselor and one of the keepers of secrets. Interesting, John thought. Anyway, we need to figure out a way to negotiate with them for you to stay here. I really am looking forward to. Vittoria, I'm leaving after tomorrow's match. John said. What? I have to. I really want to stay with you, but I have a labor to take care of. Wait, you are exiled and have no one with you. What about your pursuers then? No one will touch you here. Stay with me and... Shush, it's okay. John said, I have to travel for the next 2 years until my exile is over. What do you mean? Did you make a secret condition with King Torg? She asked. No, he will die in 2 years from now. You will kill him? No, silly. Not me. Someone else will, and the war will start. Listen, I know what I'm saying is unbelievable, but Ulfric will move sooner than anyone thinks and declare war against the Empire. By that time you, the Emperor's cousin, need to take care of yourself and the East Empire Company's presence in solitude. John said, and handed her some notes and messages. These papers are important. You will find names and dates on every one of them. Some for you, some for my wife and my family, some for my friends outside Skyrim. I want you to use the EEC's network and deliver them by the dates recorded. This will ensure the flow of trade and the stability of prices between the East and the West. Vittoria took the notes in her hands and saw names and dates that belonged to her, John's family, John Battleborn, and some with destinations outside Skyrim like Mournhold, Daggerfall, and Solstheim. You're my ace in the hole, Vittoria. The wild card that no one will see coming. Do this right, and interesting things will happen in the future. P4, Tray 0N. Goal, +4 extra. Next, +5 extra. Pat Rayon. com/Eldok Mizi. Remove. PayPal, +$10 equals extra. PayPal. Me/Eldok Mizi. Extras by votes. 5,000/8,000. Discord. GG/GKCKVA7S. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.